This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate the second part of What If Naruto's body was taken over by Dark Kurama. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Gaara considered the other Jinchuuriki he had encountered during the test. He is strong. That kind of energy can find its way through my sand. How could a ninja from a place as soft as Konoha possibly be so strong? Gaara shifted in his seat while keeping an ear out for his sister and brother's soft breathing in the adjacent room. Though they had not participated in any of the fighting, Temari and Kankuro had gone to bed as soon as they had emerged from the Forest of Death, summoned a Sand Junin with the two scrolls, and been past. Such frailty. However, since we ended early in the morning, they must have slept part of the night. They do sleep at night. Sleep deprivation is a weakness. Does the other container sleep, I wonder? Gaara considered this as she peered out the window at the rising sun. Sasuke was assisted in walking by Sakura as she unlocked the door to the tower's room designated for Team 7. Behind them, the bright morning light streamed in. Sasuke had woken up some 10 minutes before they arrived at the tower. However, an odd pain throughout his body made it necessary for him to need assistance to walk. Naruto trailed in behind them, using his left leg more than the other. Because Kyuubi's chakra was severed from Naruto's left side, it had not yet healed. As soon as they were in the room, Sasuke moved away from Sakura and leaned against the wall. Naruto gave Sakura the two scrolls they had won in the exam after taking them out. "Can we open them? I don't remember them saying anything about opening the scrolls," Sakura said. "Just open them," Sasuke retorted with a harsh tone. Sakura opened the scrolls, though she appeared hurt. Her eyes glowed with understanding. "These are summoning scrolls, but it looks like they have to be used together to work." "Then make use of them," Sasuke muttered. Sakura laid the scrolls out on the earth, the heavens above the earth, and positioned her hands as shown. She infused the scrolls with her chakra. Just in front of her, a cloud of smoke materialized and vanished, revealing Kakashi curled up with his best book. He laughed a sinister laugh and closed the book. "Congratulations on passing the second part of the exam. You guys will need to meet in the main room in a week in 2 days for announcements. And, don't be offended by my saying this, but, you guys look terrible. What did you run into? We fought some sound ninja, and got their scroll, but then there was this other guy, and..." Sakura interrupted, trembling at the memory. Sakura left off where Naruto picked up. Kakashi winced, his eyes visibly widening. "We also ran into a pale guy. He said his name was Orochimaru." If it were possible, Kakashi appeared even more terrified as she said, "He paralyzed these two for a while, and bit Sasuke's neck. I fought him, and after a while, he retreated." Staring at Naruto was Kakashi. This boy survived his battle with that treacherous assassin. However, Orochimaru would undoubtedly not expend all of his strength on a genin. Nevertheless, Naruto had made significant progress to be able to compete with a ninja of that level. Good job, guys. Naruto and Sakura, your room assignments will be given out by the front desk. You need to stay here until the meeting at the end of the exam. Sasuke, you need to come with me." Sasuke left the room with Kakashi in tow. Raising his feet, Naruto bounded toward the front desk. Sakura trailed him at a slow pace. Naruto complained. He needed to sleep as much as a regular person due to his sealed left side. When Naruto realized what he was thinking, he smiled to himself. He was a human who was complaining about being reduced to the necessities of life. Nevertheless, even with the financial burden, he still needed to exercise because the left side of his body healed slowly and would likely take a week to return to normal. The demonic chakra burns would take longer to heal than the typical injuries, which would disappear in 2 or 3 days. Naruto would have to be careful until then. It was almost noon when Sakura lay in bed. Naruto and her had run through the night, and she was tired. But she discovered she was unable to. Whenever she felt herself nodding off, she would see the angry, fearsome Naruto that she had not known existed until this morning, or the crazed smile of the pale Orochimaru. She was still able to make out Naruto's appearance from when he had faced Gaara. He was really quite demonic. Even from a distance, the red, orange chakra that burned on one side of his body felt evil. But it was not the same kind of evil that had overcome her when Orochimaru had rendered her immobile. Orochimaru had an air of cold calculation, evil in the indifferent.to.u kind of way. During his battle with Gaara, Naruto experienced a sense of evil that made him want to kill anyone who thought he was funny. Sakura could still make out Naruto's round, blue eyes in his slitted, red ones. Undoubtedly, Naruto had matured since his early years. Sakura could still picture the colorful little blonde who screamed ridiculous jokes and received terrible grades. She now believed that this boy had surpassed her. He had never received a grade higher than a D in anything before his unexpected success on the academy exam. In addition to becoming stronger, he had become quicker. It seemed that he even employed weights. Sakura had seen Naruto swap out his weights after the battle with Gaara, but she had never heard of anyone utilizing them save the weird Rock Lee. What could have been the driving force behind Naruto's extreme transformation? Sakura turned over once more. Perhaps she would eventually nod off. The last few lines on Sasuke's back were drawn by Kakashi. The seal containing Orochimaru's gift was now written on the floor, continuing on to Sasuke's back and chest. Kakashi reviewed his work, trying to find any mistakes. None were present. "Are you ready, Sasuke?" The boy with dark hair gave a nod. Applying chakra, Kakashi put his hands over the sealed enchantment. The kanji lines that covered the floor and covered Sasuke glowed softly before moving to encircle the snake. Nin's mark in a new seal. Disoriented, Sasuke collapsed onto the ground. With a sigh of relief, Kakashi spun around in the pitch black room with the concrete floor. Orochimaru emerged from the obscurity. Right away, Kakashi developed his one and only unique move, charging the Chidori with his right hand. "I will not let you take Sasuke. Come now, Kakashi. You don't think that you can defeat a Sannin, surely? I can sacrifice my life to end yours." With a malevolent, amused laugh, Orochimaru laughed. Orochimaru retreated into the shadows and vanished from Kakashi's view, saying, "Do not worry, Kakashi. I have not come to take Sasuke-kun. He will come to me, in time. He will come to me for power. Until then, I am willing to be patient." With a sigh of relief, Kakashi let go of the Chidori. Wiping away the perspiration that had built up there from Orochimaru's visit, he cleaned his brow. It was almost there. "I have to tell the Hokage right away." In the late afternoon light, Naruto, Kyuubi ran around the tower complex, drawing strange looks from people going to and from the buildings. They showed no concern. People's perceptions of us don't matter to our survival as long as they are unaware of our true nature, which is why we must train. Kyuubi agreed, growling. This dual control is easier than it could have been, at least. Though they will call for more precise movements, our techniques do need improvement. We cannot afford to be without any techniques during a fight. Next lap, we'll start working on that. After completing the lap, the peculiar pair started to run around and show off their skills, which made people stare at them even more strangely. After struggling through the seals for a few minutes, the two parts were able to execute the techniques correctly the majority of the time. "Kid, are you certain that the difference in color between our eyes won't be noticed by anyone? Since we don't communicate much, it's the best we can do, but nothing is certain. We cannot afford to wear one eye covered because we need both eyes to perceive depth. Furthermore, very few people are aware of you, so even if someone were to notice, they probably wouldn't credit your influence. My side has longer whiskers as well. We are limited in our ability to address that. Succeeding in Junin with a single genjutsu is one thing. However, two so near to each other would inevitably draw notice. This is the best we can do for the time being, but since we won't be fighting or training and there will definitely be skilled ninja around, we can cover your eye when we go to the announcements tomorrow." After circumnavigating one building, Naruto, Kyuubi created a dozen shadow clones and dashed in the direction of the next one. "Can we have a conversation like this, Kyuubi? We can try later, not while we are out here, though I doubt it." Up until late in the evening, the harmonious pair kept up their training. "Are you sure that it was Orochimaru?" "Yes, Hokage Sama." Sarutobi scowled, deepening the lines that were already there on his face. Why is Orochimaru pursuing Sasuke? He must be intensely focused on something to have made two appearances in Konoha. Buddha Orochimaru's unique technique. He desires the Uchiha's eyes. Naturally, of course. "Kakashi, I want you to keep an eye on Sasuke. Orochimaru is trying to entice him with power, but is planning to use Sasuke's body as his vessel. We cannot allow that man to acquire the Uchiha's powers. You will stop Orochimaru from doing so, using any means necessary. If that means that you must kill Sasuke, then do so, but only if you have to. We cannot allow an enemy with such power to also have the power of the Uchiha. One such man is enough." Kakashi gave a nod. "You are dismissed, Kakashi." The candidates who had successfully navigated the Forest of Death assembled in front of the enormous stone hands that constituted a seal in the tower's main chamber early the following morning. The large, 3 Story room was centered by an elevated tile platform where the genin gathered. With Shikamaru and Choji, Ino waited impatiently, occasionally stroking her long bangs behind her ears with her hand. She would quickly remove the blonde hair and replace it. Shikamaru furrowed his brow. Ladies. Hinata put her 2 index fingers together and stood behind Kiba and Shino. Occasionally, she would glance at Naruto, blush, and then quickly return her attention to her feet. Arms crossed, Gaara stood before Tamari and Kankuru, his expression as stoic as ever. Kankuru stood motionless with Karasu strapped onto his back and covered in white bandages while Tamari rested on her fan. After defeating Team 7, the Sound Team managed to obtain 2 scrolls and was now standing in the room by themselves. Tenten gazed dreamily at the Hyuga prodigy, who was occupiedly ignoring Lee, while Lee chatted excitedly with Neji about how well they were all going to perform in the upcoming segment. Crossing his arms, Sasuke stood and peered down. Sakura stood to his right, appearing perplexed by the Sound Crew's presence. Naruto Kyuubi ducked slightly behind Sasuke and turned his mask to the left, covering his right eye. His visible eye was fixed forward. Now that everyone was present, the Sandaime moved swiftly to take a position in front of the gathered genin. He looked in their direction. Congratulations on passing the second part of the Chunin exam. It is unusual to have so many pass, which brings me to this announcement. It is not customary to allow so many genin into the tournament that comprises the final part of the exam. Therefore, we will be having 1 round of preliminary matches before the actual tournament. The winners will progress to the tournament. The preliminary matches will start tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. The pairings for the matches will be announced there. You are dismissed. The Hokage moved back to the side to talk more about how he intended to handle Orochimaru's potential attack. There was no one better than Sarutobi to teach Kakashi everything that the betraying Sannin was capable of. Kakashi stood to the side of the room, waiting for the Hokage. He turned to face his team in the interim, grinning as he saw Naruto's mask. I had assumed he would respect me less, but apparently not. I cover my left eye, though. He needs to focus more intently. Alternatively, he might wish to stand out a little. The genin talked about this new development as they slowly left the room. After exiting the tower, Naruto, Kyuubi put on his new genjutsu. He put on the genjutsu, pulled his mask back to its original position, and started running. We slept for too long and then attended that 5-minute meeting. We must exercise. The semi-demon used haphazard techniques as it ran through the complex. Kyuubi abruptly stopped as a thought suddenly crossed his mind. This was something Naruto hardly noticed, and for a few moments the strange pair staggered around before finding their balance again. Kyuubi, what was that for? That sand kid we fought. I knew I recognized him. Shukaku is sealed inside him. Shukaku? The demon badger with 1 tail? A badger. A badger, indeed. What relevance does that have? It will be useful to know what to expect from him if we fight him again. The dark rings of sleep deprivation we observed on the host could be explained by the fact that Shukaku is the kind of demon that consumes a person's soul while they sleep. Because Shukaku is also a coward, he will be shielded from attacks even if he is not aware of them by the host's sand. Having this knowledge along with the lessons we took away from the battle in the forest will be useful to us when we face him again. I see. We'll have to remember that, I guess. The half-demon went back to his lessons. With that, Kakashi left the tower. He felt so weak in the face of Orochimaru after his conversation with the Hokage. Even at the risk of his own life, Kakashi was unsure if he could have killed Orochimaru despite his boast the day before. When Kakashi looked up, he saw Naruto running from building to building with his mask back in place after sensing movement. He is at least not trying to run around without any sense of depth. I had to learn it over several years. Kakashi strolled along, removing his beloved book from its satchel. As he headed to his room, Kakashi laughed sinisterly. The genin gathered once more in the tower's central chamber early the next morning. Standing close to the rear of the group of genin, with one side of his mask covering his right eye, was Naruto, Kyuubi. Just behind his siblings, Subaku no Gaara stood in nearly the same position a few feet to his side. The bleary-eyed demon container cast a sidelong glance at Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto, how has life been for you here? Do they fear me as much as they fear you? Are their hatreds of you and me equal? Though they were far from the striking black circles that encircled Gaara's eyes, Gaara could see the obvious signs of sleep deprivation around Naruto's eyes. You appear to sleep, albeit not as much as most people. Gaara questioned why he was interested in Naruto so much. Was it typical to be curious about someone who resembled you? Gaara was unaware. His life had never been ordinary. The genin hushed themselves, waking Gaara from his dream. Before them was a Chunin with a sickly appearance. After a few clearings of the throat, he started speaking. Welcome to the preliminary matches for the Chunin exam. Those who win here will advance to the Chunin exam's third and final part, the tournament. Although anyone may be chosen to be Chunin from the tournament, even if they lose in the first round, no one who loses in a preliminary match will be able to be promoted. Once more, the Chunin coughed into his hand. The matches will all be held today. I will be your examiner, and will determine when a ninja is unable to fight, and award victories to the winners. The pairing for each fight will be determined randomly, and the contestants' names will be displayed on the board behind me. He gestured to a sizable board that briefly lit up before showing the words, First Match, Aburame Shino vs. Zaku. Once more, the Chunin coughed. Let the preliminary matches begin. Shino turned to face the sound ninja across the tiled platform, who looked smugly confident. From the railed balcony that encircled the room near the ceiling, he could just barely make out people applauding for him. He caught Zaku grinning. This sound shinobi was obviously ignorant of the terrifying things hordes of bugs were capable of, or he had never heard of Shino's abilities. With a sickly smile, the Chunin dropped his hand and leapt to the side of the ground floor. Hajime. With the intention of ending the fight right away, Zaku pulled out a kunai. No ninja should be a challenge if they are foolish enough to wear sunglasses indoors. He then noticed a swarm of bugs emerging from Shino's gray trench coat. That brings about a change. Bugs flew in Zaku's direction. Zaku let go of his kunai and forced chakra through his arm's hollow tubing. The bugs were blown away by a strong wind. With another draw of his kunai, Zaku charged. I must quickly wrap this up. The thought of what those bugs could accomplish bothers me greatly. Shino watched the cocky sound nin blast the bugs out of the air, then pull out a kunai and launch a charge. Now, he has no chance. Shino parried every kunai thrust and stopped every kick and punch. Each time he stopped the ninja, he left behind a few bugs that made their way to Zaku's arms and obstructed the hollow tubes that let him use his unique move. Zaku attempted several more blows, but recoiled in horror as he noticed the horde of bugs coming back from wherever he had blown them away. He pushed chakra through his arm's hollow tubing. And nothing took place. What is happening? Zaku applied more pressure to the chakra, but it was unable to pass through the tubing. Shino raised his voice. This match is over, examiner. The sickly Chunin watched closely, though with skepticism. Zaku fixed his gaze on the leaf.nin. How dare he think this match was finished? With great force, Zaku thrust his chakra into the tubing. Chakra burst out of his upper arms in a flurry of holes. With a scream, Zaku lost consciousness. Coughing, the examiner leapt to Zaku's side. After a quick glance, he got to his feet. Winner, Aburame Shino. The board on the wall flickered back to life after Zaku was removed from the arena by medical ninja. Haruno Sakura vs Yamanaka Ino. The pair of girls leapt to the platform below. Hajime. Not too soon. The examiner leapt out of the way. The two girls were throwing kunai for all they were worth as soon as the match started. Kunai after kunai collided in midair, filling the large room with a metallic ringing. Every girl was aware of each other's strength and skill levels. It was a struggle of wills. The girls ran out of kunai at that point. Sakura made two buncheons and quickly sealed the seal. Sakura dashed toward Ino with the buncheons. Ino was at a loss for what to do. She chose an image to fight back against, but it disappeared in a cloud of smoke before it could get to her. Incorrect one. Sakura sent the blonde several yards flying with a punch to Ino's face. As he stood up, Ino considered his options. Instead of having a heartfelt flashback about her friendship with Sakura, she chose to charge towards the genin with the pink hair. Sakura, however, sidestepped Ino's intended punch and grabbed her long ponytail, throwing the blonde back across the arena. Ino fell in a pile. She pulled several smoke bombs out of her pouch and threw them all over Sakura before standing up. Together, Ino formed three buncheons and dashed into the smoke. Sakura heard feet running all around her and whirled around. Then she heard, "Not so tough now, are you?" coming from one side. Sakura spun to look at the voice. The voice had left, and she could hear footsteps getting closer. "Ino, you exposed your location and undid the smoke bombs, effect. I apologize for having to do this, but..." Hearing her clone speak gave Ino a sly smile. It indicated that Sakura and Ino were facing the exact opposite clone. Thus, the fair-haired woman made a well-known seal and fell to the ground. Sakura became motionless. Why was her body not moving? She lifted her hand as she felt herself emerge from the smoke. Her voice called out, "I, Haruno Sakura, forfeit the match." She then felt a seal form around her. Abruptly, she regained control over her body. Method of mind. Body transfer. I ought to have anticipated that. The examiner declared Yamanaka Ino the winner, and Ino got to his feet. Not out of concern for the fighters, but rather to gain insight into their fighting styles in case he ever had to face them again, and in case he saw something worthy of imitation. Naruto Kyuubi watched the matches. Seeing the matches with just one eye was an interesting experience. It became more challenging to predict the precise location of kunai strikes and whether they would occur. Still, they were growing accustomed to it. From behind them, Naruto and Kyuubi heard Kakashi approaching. "Hey Naruto, am I so cool that you feel the need to copy me? That's almost too funny. Copying the copy.nin. I'll have to write that down." Kakashi let out a sigh. Naruto was not amused by anything. "Why are you doing that anyway, Naruto?" Kyuubi and Naruto pondered for a moment before coming up with an explanation. "To see what it would be like to fight like you. Since you fight like that and you're a Junin, there must be a good reason for it." "Ah, I see." Kakashi chose not to explain to Naruto why he was fighting with just one eye because he had no desire to inform him about the Sharingan. Hyuga Hinata vs. Hyuga Neji was the new match that lit up the board. After the fight, Hinata was carried out of the arena by medic Nins. Neji had won the fight handily, and it had only taken 30 seconds. Too scared to think clearly, Hinata was too slow to strike him. Once more, the board flickered to life. An. Uchiha Sasuke vs. Yoroi. I believe that's the name of the guy. Sasuke leapt down to the tiled arena upon seeing his name on the board. He observed a tall man with sunglasses fall onto the platform's opposite side. Yoroi must be that. Yoroi covered his lower face with a veil. It complemented the other dark purple, black items in his ensemble. It was Sasuke who saw the sunglasses. Does he possess Shino's abilities? Though I am not positive, I don't believe he is a member of the Aburame clan. Perhaps he's got another issue. Upon noticing that both ninjas were positioned correctly, the examiner exclaimed, "Hajime," and promptly leapt towards the wall. Sasuke recalled that this match was not supposed to be about using chakra. Because Sasuke had not yet developed the willpower to control it, Kakashi had stated that any use of chakra could cause the curse seal to become activated. Additionally, Kakashi had declared that he would end the match and disqualify Sasuke if the curse seal ever activated during a match so that he could quickly repair the seal. Sasuke only had access to taijutsu because he was aware that genjutsu and ninjutsu required chakra. Assuming Yoroi would undoubtedly discover his vulnerability soon, Sasuke charged in an attempt to finish the fight as soon as possible. Through his veil, Yoroi smirked, but no one could see it. "My area of expertise is close quarters combat." Blue chakra started to glow on Yoroi's hands. "I'll drain his chakra until he is unable to fight once he is within range. That will not only guarantee the match, but it will also grant me chakra in case the next match takes place within the next 24 hours. Jumping at Yoroi, Sasuke tried to deliver a flying kick. After grabbing Sasuke's leg and using up all of his chakra, Yoroi threw Sasuke back across the platform. Sasuke fell into a pile. What method was that? Why was I feeling so exhausted afterward? Releasing a vague unease, Sasuke got back up and launched another charge. It obviously has to do with the method he's employing, but what good does it do? Yoroi rolled his eyes, seeing Sasuke make another charge. This child is really chubby. The veiled man jumped over Sasuke, landing right behind him, as he suddenly ducked and attempted to sweep Yoroi's legs out from under him. He put Sasuke in a headlock with his right arm and then used his left hand to drain the boy's chakra by pressing his neck. The fact that he was attempting to remove chakra from Sasuke's curse seal was unknown to Yoroi. Why'd I not sense any chakras? It feels weird that I'm not getting any chakra at all. In an attempt to overcome any resistance Sasuke might be putting up, Yoroi tugged more forcefully. Yoroi was blasted by a purple chakra explosion and hit the wall behind Sasuke. Though he was no longer needed in the story, he would have survived if he hadn't crashed head first into the wall, breaking his neck and killing him instantly. For a brief while, Yoroi's body blazed silently against the wall, emitting flickers of purple chakra, and then it fell to the ground, where it smoldered. After that, Sasuke felt oddly better, so he got up and went to where his opponent's battered body lay, on its back. Startled, Sasuke noticed that Yoroi's clothing had a charred hole where a curse seal was peeking out, exactly where Sasuke had his. Sasuke suddenly thought of something. Sasuke molded some chakra while the examiner came over to look into the matter. The curse seal did not interfere with or react to the chakra's proper formation. Sasuke executed a henge using the chakra. The curse seal had no effect. It appeared to be non-existent. Examiner Yoroi was turned over by his foot, and he raised his voice at the obvious signs of death. Winner, Uchiha Sasuke. Medical.nin raced over and removed Yoroi's quickly decaying body from the tiled platform. Sasuke leapt up to the balcony to watch the next few matches with Naruto, feeling happier than he had in a long time. Inazaka Kiba vs Sabaku no Gaara was written on the light board. The fight was brutal and short. Kiba lunged at Gaara, who swatted the dog lover into a wall with his sand and then used a pillar of sand to crush the mud against the wall. Before the sand.nin could do more, the examiner exclaimed, "Winner, Sabaku no Gaara." After witnessing Kiba's shattered, unconscious body fall to the ground, Kiba was hurried to the hospital by medical.nin. Gaara vanished into the sand and was reborn by his siblings, his expression unchanged from before the match. Once the initial shock of Gaara's match subsided, the board summoned Shikamaru and Kin. Sasuke, as was becoming his habit, ignored the slow-moving battle and turned to face Naruto, who was wearing his mask. His right eye was partially covered by the mask. Sasuke grinned. Despite his best efforts to appear tough, the old Naruto is still out there somewhere, using his mask to mimic his sensei. Sasuke spoke up, surprising even himself with his sudden cheer. "Hey, Naruto." The boy in the mask gave him a quick glance but remained silent. Pulling down his shirt collar, Sasuke turned to face Naruto. "Could you do a favor for me? Could you tell me what that mark on the back of my neck looks like?" Sasuke asked. "There is a thin circular mark around what looks like a white scar. The scar looks similar to the mark that you had there before." Unaware that he had been holding his breath, Sasuke released it. He had misplaced his curse seal, somehow. It didn't matter that Sasuke didn't know how Kakashi's seal continued to exist after the object it sealed was taken out. When Sasuke heard the examiner say, "Winner, Nara Shikamaru," his head snapped to the center of the room. Kakashi approached Sasuke from behind. "What happened out there, Sasuke?" "I was about to end the match, but when I saw that Yoroi was in no condition to fight, I let the examiner end the match as usual." "Did you activate the curse seal? You know how dangerous that could be." "No, when Yoroi tried his technique that second time, he did so over the curse seal, which apparently reacted badly." Turning, Sasuke drew down his collar. "But it wasn't all bad. Whatever happened out there removed my curse seal and gave it to him. I saw it on his body after the fight." Kakashi gazed at Sasuke's neck with wide eyes. He noticed the seal that he had attempted to use to contain the curse seal. Yet the seal of curse was vanished. A tiny area of slightly discolored skin that resembled a typical scar replaced it. Kakashi finally broke out of his astonishment after a moment. "We need to inform the Hokage at once. Come with me, Sasuke." With Sasuke and Kakashi gone, Naruto was left by himself on the balcony. The following matches were watched by Naruto and Kyuubi indifferently, never applauding. They were among the few who weren't yelling or cheering furiously in favor of or against any particular ninja. The half-demon turned to face Gaara, another silent onlooker, who remained exactly where he had been, arms crossed, back straight, and wearing a passive contempt expression. A silver-haired genin who had withdrawn from the Chunin exam right after the Forest of Death was the third silent observer. He would occasionally be seen by Naruto and Kyuubi strolling around the balcony and recording the fights. The two had taken particular notice of him following Sasuke's match's unexpected ending, which the silver-haired genin had watched with a mix of open surprise and alarm before scrawling frantically in his notes. The half-demon thought back to the previous games. By first posing as his own puppet and then launching a vicious sneak attack, the Sand.Nin Konkaru defeated the Sound's Dosu, ending the fight before Dosu had a chance to use his special move. Tenten had fought fiercely against Temari, but against someone who could blow them all away with a simple flick of the wrist, her projectile attacks were essentially ineffective. There was only going to be one possible pairing because there were only two individuals remaining. Uzumaki Naruto vs Rock Lee was declared by the board. Looking across the tiles at the strange boy with a fuzzy brow, Naruto, Kyuubi turned to face him. "It's going to be peculiar to battle this human, as the majority of our training was inspired by him. Furthermore, he has more training experience than we do. Even if he sleeps more than we do, our few extra hours a day won't be able to match the extra years I've heard he's been lifting weights. He will be faster and stronger than anyone we have ever met. This ought to be fascinating. After glancing at each of them, the examiner exclaimed, Hajime, as he leapt back against the wall, realizing that they were both prepared. Rock Lee smiled. Do your best, Naruto. The fires of youth burn within us both, so I expect you to be a difficult opponent. After covering his right eye with his genjutsu, Naruto, Kyuubi revealed it to make the match. Both ninjas delivered lightning fast punches and kicks before abruptly vanishing and then reappearing, sliding away from one another. Once more, they vanished from view, and peculiar flashes of color surrounded the tiles, designating the locations of their repeated collisions. The tiles were speckled with bits of green and black. And then, as abruptly as they'd started, they were back where they'd been a few seconds earlier, panting heavily. You are a worthy opponent, Naruto. You are very fast, but the true test of your youthful strength will be to see how long you can keep that speed up. The demonic pair remained silent. Once more, the two ninjas disappeared, leaving only sporadic patches of color to indicate their presence while they engaged in vicious combat. The large room reverberated with a loud clang. Lee and Naruto, Kyuubi remained motionless in the same position as their previous battle, with the half-demon's forearm supporting Lee's webbed foot above him and keeping it from smashing him into the ground. For a brief moment, they remained as rigid as stone statues, and then they abruptly moved apart. You use weights, Naruto? You are even more full of the vibrance of youth than I thought. We are like brothers to each other, except we are not related. This shall be a test of both our skills and our training. Maida Guy yelled from the balcony, Lee, take off your weights. But Guy Sensei, I thought that I was only to take them off when protecting others. I will make an exception. With their signature thumbs up and smile, Lee and Guy temporarily blinded everyone in the room. Lee started by removing his weights from his legs. Since we can remove ours as well, this can't be too horrible. With a terrible clanging sound, Naruto, Kyuubi pulled the cord holding his weights, causing the tiles beneath them to crack. After removing all of his weights, Lee let them fall to the ground, where they shattered the tiles into small pieces and scattered small rocks all over the place. The room echoed with a loud boom. Alternatively, this could go very, very wrong. Then the two ninjas vanished. Naruto Kyuubi whirled to block a kick, then pivoted to block a blow, and finally twisted again to avoid another kick. Lee smiled throughout the battle. If Naruto trains diligently enough, he will be able to see his potential. Even though I'm not as smart as Neji, I can still be brilliant at work ethic. And maybe I could also teach Naruto this. Kyuubi was happy that Naruto and he were taking turns controlling the body. If one of them had control over the entire body, there was no way they could avoid all of these. As it was, they could hardly block or dodge what Lee was doing, and it was probably for the best that they avoided him because every kick or punch he delivered had the potential to shatter stones and break bones. Then they were launched into the air after failing to block a kick. When Lee leapt over them, he struck them squarely in the stomach, sending them crashing into the tiles below, leaving a tiny crater in their wake. With the gracefulness of a deer, Lee leapt to the ground, seemingly having completed a ballet rather than an intense grappling match. The dark ninja stood up and turned to face Lee. Their right eye had a slitted pupil and was blood-red in color. Steam rose from Naruto's right side, his perspiration dissipating due to the heat generated by the demonic chakra concealed beneath his clothes. Anger had twisted Naruto's and Kyuubi's faces, forming a V shape between their narrowed eyes. Lee glanced at Naruto, perplexed. What's going on with Naruto? How did the color of his eye change? Why does he smoke in that manner? Lee shoved his thoughts aside for the moment and lunged forward. They attacked again, the two fighters fading into nothingness. Curiously, Naruto did not duck when Lee threw a punch at his right shoulder. After landing his first blow, Lee flinched away as a spike of demonic chakra pierced his hand. Slamming his palm into Lee's chest in the center, Kyuubi Naruto, still steaming but able to conceal his demonic chakra from view, allowed Lee to use his hand to conceal the spike of evil chakra that was impaling the green-clad ninja and burning the green leotard in a wide circle around the impact point. With the poison of Kyuubi's chakra already inflaming his hand and chest, Lee flew backward and collided with the distant wall. Lee collapsed to the ground and started hacking up a cough. The demonic influence started to burn in the affected body parts, and Lee curled into a fetal position, afraid to touch his chest or hand for fear of experiencing more pain. His hand was already immobile, his coughing was getting more intense, and every time he coughed, blood spurted out. With an almost maniacal grin plastered on their faces, Naruto and Kyuubi waited for Lee to attack or for the examiner to end the match. The examiner approached Lee. As he turned to declare Naruto's victory, he noticed Lee's condition and started to stand up, his face covered in pain. Subsequently, he experienced an abrupt surge of chakra, causing his whole body to turn a shade of red and not the angry red that was visible on his exposed chest and hand. His pupils were so small that it was difficult to see them in his nearly white eyes. Then he was gone. As soon as possible, Kyuubi poured more chakra into the right side of his body, replenishing the layer of demonic chakra that was hidden by his clothes but that still caused pain to Lee whenever he struck it. With a swift motion, Naruto raised his left leg and fell to his left side. Hopefully, Lee could now target just the right side. Rising above the pair of demons, Lee slammed his leg into their naked right side, shattering ribs and damaging internal organs. Unaware that he was taking in Kyuubi's lethal chakra, Lee disregarded the sharp pain shooting through his leg as he kicked. Right away, his foot started to swell, making it practically immobile and useless in the battle because any pain caused there would be multiplied tenfold by Kyuubi's chakra's poison. Lee materialized at Naruto's feet out of nowhere, attempting to lift him up to throw him against a wall. However, as he grabbed Naruto's right leg, more demonic chakra burned his good left hand. The massive amount of demonic chakra that was now flowing through Lee's body caused him to pass out next to Naruto. With his ribs and internal organs starting to mend, Kyuubi got to his feet. The pair carefully put the genjutsu back over their right eye after Kyuubi lowered his chakra output to normal levels and removed the layer of chakra from his right side. They moved away from Rock Lee by a few steps. When the examiner realized Lee was unconscious, he leapt to his side and declared, "Winner, Uzumaki Naruto." Medical.nin arrived and brought Rock Lee's crimson, swollen, and feverish body to the hospital for examination. Kyuubi picked up his weights from where he had dropped them and leapt back to the balcony, disobeying the medical.nin's orders. "Our wounds will not take long to mend." After removing their mask and releasing the genjutsu, they started putting the weights back into the dark clothing that covered their faces. The Sandaime announced that the last part of the Chunin exam would start in 2 weeks. This would allow those who wished to attend time to come, and it would also give the remaining ninja in the exam time to train and recover. Despite being shaken by what he had witnessed in Naruto's fight, the Sandaime managed to maintain his composure. Following his announcement, he left the room and observed the crowd filing out while exchanging stories about what they had seen and done. Kakashi approached the Hokage from the side. "I know you saw it, too." Sarutobi let out a sigh. "Yes, I saw it. It is indeed troubling that he possesses such control over the special chakra." He thought about the listeners around him, and that he feels the need to hide it. It was painfully obvious to me that he was concealing the chakra within his clothing. Poorly, of course, because that chakra is not the sort of thing you can hide from someone who has felt it before. It is not a subtle thing. The elderly man drew on his pipe. And I noticed something strange about his face. I had passed over it before, because I did not expect that sort of thing from a genin, but I think he is using a genjutsu over at least one of his eyes. Kakashi gave the Hokage a look. "A genjutsu? Why? We need to keep an eye on Naruto. By we, I mean you, Kakashi. I will be busy getting ready for the tournament and the end of the Chunin exams. What if his guest was affecting him in ways not foreseen by the fourth? What if he is turning into something? What if his guest were influencing his conscious thought? There are so many things that could go wrong with such a complicated seal like the one the fourth tried so many years ago." The Sandaime went on. "Your task, if you want to call it that, is to watch over Naruto for the next 2 weeks and see if he does anything unusual. Report anything suspicious to me right away. Under no circumstances should you approach or even speak with Naruto. Naturally, Hokage Sama. Who will instruct my students, though? I'll get you some temporary substitutes. Additionally, Kakashi, try to hide from Naruto." "Very well, Hokage Sama." Kakashi, who had been following Naruto from a distance, watched the boy as he left the tower, started running down the one road leading to the village, and then leapt up to the trees, following the masked, black-clad genin in stealth. As Kyuubi's ribs began to heal from Lee's strong kick, he ran back to the village. "We're lucky that green guy collapsed when he did. Another punch or two would have killed us. We still have a long way to go before we can even be on par with all of the genin here." "Yes, but it seems to me that strong genin are the exception rather than the rule. Nevertheless, we still have a long way to go before we can compete with a skilled Junin." Naruto, Kyuubi turned aside before they reached the actual village, and he headed toward his training area. From there, he started running along the well-traversed path he had created in the ground, occasionally employing moves, most of which were cage bunshin, and he ran back and forth along his trail. Kyuubi was concentrating on the training when Naruto stumbled across a route that had been there ever since they began using this area, which appeared to be abandoned. This startled Kyuubi. "That route has been there for a very long time. What's wrong with you?" "There's a problem with the training area." Naruto and Kyuubi sniffed the air, and sure enough, they detected a new aroma that had recently dug dirt. They trailed it to the spot where those long Dadago villagers who had followed him here in an attempt to kill him were buried. The bodies of all the villagers were missing, and there was a sizable hole in the ground. That is not good. Just as Sarutobi was getting settled in his Konoha office after returning from the preliminary Chunin, two Anbu suddenly barged in. The Hokage gave them a raised gaze. Pointing to the Anbu in the dog mask, the man wearing a cat mask did so. "Talk," the Hokage commanded. The dog mask-wearing Anbu spoke quickly. "You recall those villagers that went missing months ago? We found them buried in a mass grave in the unused training ground. The bodies are too rotten to see what killed them, other than the fact that the weapons were sharp, but we are investigating who might have done this. The bodies have been returned to their families for burial." The Sandame's eyebrows furrowed. This case of missing persons had suddenly turned into one of mass murder. "Use as many resources as you feel you need to find the perpetrator," Sarutobi stated. "Is there anything else I should know?" "Well, there were kunai marks all over the trees in that training area, some old, but most of them fresh. There also seemed to be a trail that was worn into the ground. It also seemed to have been used recently, but when we brought tracking dogs, they sniffed the trail, then refused to follow the scent. We tried to force them, but they seemed too frightened to even look at the trail after they had caught the scent of whatever it was. We will continue using other avenues to find out who might have been at that training area." The Hokage let out a sigh. Kakashi is on a mission right now, but will be available after the Chunin exams are completed. Once that is over, he will be able to bring Pakun out there, and even if he won't follow the trail, he should at least be able to tell us why. I do know that dogs can often sense a ninja's prowess from something in his or her scent, so if they smelled an incredibly strong ninja, they may have become frightened. If there is nothing else, you are dismissed. The Anbu turned to leave the room after bowing. Sarutobi continued, "If you see a man with long white hair outside, would you please send him in?" The Anbu departed the space. A moment later, Jiraiya, the legendary Sannin, came in. "What do you want?" After realizing there was nothing more they could do about the bodies, Naruto and Kyuubi went back to training. They continued to train, making an effort to ignore their bodies. About 50 yards away from where Naruto was practicing, Kakashi observed from the limbs of a tree. "Does he ever come to an end? He's been running for nearly 30 minutes, and he's also wearing those weights. He had to be that skilled on the missions. Since I never saw him in the village, I assumed he was lazing around at home in between missions, but it appears he was out here, getting some training in." Kakashi turned as he heard a noise and pulled out a kunai. As Jiraiya touched down beside Kakashi, the Sannin saw him coming and put his kunai away. A whisper came from Jiraiya, "Why are you hiding up here?" "I'm supposed to keep an eye on Naruto. He's been using his guest's chakra, and the Hokage wants to make sure that the seal is working properly." Jiraiya grinned. "Doubting the Yondaime's work? I only have to watch him until after the Chunin exams. That's fine. I was sent here to train Naruto. Unfortunately, I can't be around for very long at one time, since I have research to do." When Jiraiya noticed Kakashi's twisted grin, she said, "Not just that kind, either." The moment Naruto, Kyuubi saw the man with white hair fall from the trees, he stopped. Without delay, the half-demon produced 20 clones, each of whom pulled a kunai. He made sure his genjutsu was in working order before mentally inciting one of the clones to speak. "Who are you? What? Do you not recognize the legendary frog ninja, Jiraiya-sama?" The clones shook their heads, causing the Sannin to fail. "I am here to train you, at the request of the Hokage. Kakashi was sent on a mission not long ago, and will not return for some time. So you shall receive the coveted position being of my student." Kyuubi, or Naruto, rolled his eyes. This individual is strange. Yes, but a Sannin might have a lot to teach us. Indeed. After destroying the clones, Naruto, Kyuubi greeted them with a smile and said, "My name is Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto, Kyuubi leapt from branch to branch as he followed the Sannin through the forest. He wondered where the fabled frog ninja might be taking him, but said nothing, as it was never a good idea to bother a powerful ninja. They abruptly arrived at the forest's edge and peered over. A restroom. It seemed that a sizable natural hot spring served as the foundation for the buildings. Since the fence was useless from a distance of about 20 yards and at a height of several yards, Naruto and Kyuubi could see people swimming in the springs. The ninja with white hair descended to the ground and approached a small, unfenced area of hot water. Then came the half-demon. Jiraiya looked up at his apprentice. Today, you will practice walking on water using chakra. This will improve your chakra control, and perhaps your stamina. You have, I assume, practiced climbing trees using chakra? The boy without a mask gave a single nod, his blonde hair waved slightly in response. Good. This is similar, except that the water is not as constant a surface as trees are. You will have to constantly adjust the amount of chakra you use in order to stay above the surface. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some research to do. Naruto, Kyuubi giggled in a way that reminded him of Kakashi when he saw the Sannin walk over to a small hole in the women's side of the bathhouse's fence, take out a notebook, and start writing. With rolling eyes, the blonde boy faced the water. He planted one foot on the water's surface to get a feel for it while directing their chakra into their feet. They put their other foot into the water once they thought they had a good feel for it. The water surrounding his feet started to stir and ripple right away. The half-demon sensed that he should be focusing his chakra, but they were unable to do so for some reason. Their chakra seemed to be pulsing without their conscious control. The water started to foam. The semi-demon concentrated hard, but something kept him from fully mastering the chakra. They plummeted into the ocean. With haste, Naruto, Kyuubi emerged from the boiling water. Their chakra fluctuated slightly, almost imperceptibly until they required control and precision. If we had been climbing trees earlier, wouldn't we have noticed this? Seemingly not. The blonde attempted multiple times, each attempt lasting a little longer than the last, but each time they believed he had mastered it, the water would stir due to the pulsing rhythm of their chakra, making the effects more apparent and causing the water to foam like it was boiling, which in turn caused the half-demon to fall into the water once more. The blonde had only been able to stay in the water for 10 seconds after an hour of practice. The boy saw Jiraiya approach him as the semi-demon emerged from the water once more. The Sannin had been spying, sure, but he had also glanced back now and then to check on the boy. He found the lack of progress to be troubling. Hey, Naruto. Try one more time for me. The white-haired ninja observed with great interest as Naruto, Kyuubi entered the water, stood there for a short while, tilted, and eventually fell back in as the water shook and rippled. When they were startled by the Sannin's reaching out with his left hand and raising their shirt, Naruto climbed out of the little springs once more. Naruto, mold some chakra. Kyuubi and Naruto spoke rapidly. Is he aware? Shall we murder him? How on earth is he doing this? When even the Hokage hasn't figured it out, how could he possibly know? However, the only way to avoid detection is to appear normal, and declining to change the chakra might raise suspicions in his mind. Ideally, you're correct. The blonde molded chakra and formed a seal. Jiraiya saw the seal he was expecting to see as well as another seal that was a little off center. For Orochimaru to hit a genin off center, he must be slipping. Blue flames of chakra appeared on the tip of his right hand finger, which was behind him. Jiraiya suddenly slammed his hand into their stomach, breaking Orochimaru's seal, before Naruto or Kyuubi could act. Just before Naruto fell back into the springs due to the force of the blow, Jiraiya noticed that his left eye was flickering red, but she was too preoccupied with the seal. When the water started to boil and glow orange, Jiraiya took notice. I'll murder him. He is aware. Murder him. He is unsure. Look into my head. He broke the seal of that Orochimaru guy. How? How come he would do that? If he was going to do that, he would have told us. Not if we were a naive young boy who was unaware of the demon inside his stomach. Now, quit releasing so much chakra, or you will undoubtedly discover who we are. The blonde surfaced, gasping for air, and the water turned back to its original color. Jiraiya gave the boy a weird look. I had no idea that opening him up would have such a powerful impact. However, it appears to have faded quickly. His expression snapped to a cheerful smile. That was my patented relaxation technique. You should be able to do better now that you're relaxed. After emerging from the water, Naruto, Kyuubi faced the water. When the boy appeared to accept this, Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Children can be easily tricked. Kyuubi, or Naruto, rolled his eyes. People can be easily tricked. They entered the water and remained motionless. Their presence barely caused the water surrounding their feet to vibrate. He crossed the water by foot. With every step, the water barely stirred. He did flips, jumps, ran around on the water, performed handstands, and performed other stunts he might have done on dry land. It was all very simple. We were failing as a result of that seal. How on earth did that Sanin figure it out so fast? I misjudged him a great deal. We fixed the seal in just one day together. Just think of the benefits we could receive from training with him for a full 2 weeks. I can return now that you have complete control over my body. In fact, sharing the body seems to give us better control over it. I believe that things ought to remain as they are. It provided us with a much needed advantage over Lee, and it might be the difference maker in a future bout. Naruto Kyuubi approached the white-haired ninja who had taken up his position by the fence hole after a few more minutes of training on the water. Arrow. Senin, we've finished the exercise. Is there anything else I can do for you? Jiraiya didn't appear to notice that the two demons cursed themselves for using the pronoun, we. The frog ninja hissed, "Be quieter, Naruto. And don't call me that. I'm no ordinary pervert. I am a super pervert, so don't confuse me with those ordinary guys. No, I don't have anything else for you today. I'll come up with something for tomorrow. Meet me here tomorrow morning for more." Kyuubi, Naruto narrowed his eyes. "I think you need to teach us a technique to make it worth our while to keep your secret." "What secret? Everyone who knows me knows that I'm a super pervert. But the women here don't know that you're watching them. You wouldn't. All I have to do is raise my voice, and they'll know you're here." "But," with a twisted expression on his face, "I have research to do," Jiraiya complained. "Fine, I'll start teaching you to summon, but since you're so impatient, you'll have to summon frogs, since that is the only scroll I have access to." Moving past the fence, Jiraiya approached a rock near the water where they had been practicing. He took the big scroll off his back and unfolded it to reveal the contract along with a list of all the signatories. Kyuubi, Naruto pursued him. Jiraiya pointed to the next blank space on the contract and said, "Naruto, you have to sign your name on here in blood to seal the contract." When Naruto Kyuubi tried to sign their name after biting their right thumb, the blood rolled off the contract as if it were water-resistant paper. Jiraiya appeared perplexed. "What other summoning contracts have you signed, Naruto? Obviously, whoever you signed to is not on good terms with the frog summons, or vice versa." It was now Kyuubi, Naruto's turn to be perplexed. "I haven't signed any other contracts." Jiraiya wrinkled his forehead. Although Naruto doesn't appear to be the kind to lie, it's clear that he has signed another contract. Unless he had been impacted by the Kyuubi somehow. Perhaps housing that cunning fox signed Naruto up for an automatic summoning of foxes. However, I'm not aware of the seals required for fox summoning, nor do I know of anyone who would. However, if it was an automatic signing, then perhaps any summoning jutsu, regardless of whose seals he performs, would automatically summon foxes. Jiraiya carefully went through a number of seals before saying, "Naruto, I want you to memorize these seals." He was exactly copied by Naruto Kyuubi. "Good," said Jiraiya. "Now, bite your thumb again for more blood, wipe the blood across your arm, do those seals, then put your right hand to the ground. Don't use very much chakra." After giving the elderly man a strange look, Naruto Kyuubi bit their thumb once more. "How come? However, we haven't endorsed the agreement. I might have made a deal with foxes by virtue of my presence, whether it was through the seal or my continuous contact with your body. How could it accomplish that? I'm not entirely certain. I have no idea what that would do because I know very little about that seal that the cursed Yondaime used. They created the seals after wiping the blood off their arm. After finishing the final seal, they knelt down and put their right palm on the earth, adding a tiny amount of chakra to the move. A small amount of ninja smoke appeared from underneath as their hand was propelled upward from the earth. Kyuubi and Naruto waved their hands to locate the cutest fox baby ever. Even its white fur appeared to be soft. It rolled off its side onto its feet, opened its orange, slitted eyes to gaze up at the blond boy, and let out a contented little bark. With great difficulty, it leapt onto the boy's right shoulder and used its paws to pull itself upright. Standing up, Naruto Kyuubi turned to face Jiraiya. The rather comic picture in front of the white-haired Sannin made him smile. The kit with its bright white fur emanating a happy aura, it looked around with a curious curiosity and occasionally yipped with excitement. The ninja, dressed in all black, glared at him with an icy stare, blank, emotionless expression fixed on his face. Jiraiya chose not to include the explanation that Naruto could not sign the contract because all summoned families had refused to share contracts with the foxes following Kyuubi's attack on Konoha. Instead, she said, "Naruto, you seem to have a contract with foxes already. That would explain why you could not sign the frog contract. I suggest that you practice fighting with a summon from now on. They can be very useful in a fight. I saw the training you were doing over at that old field, and I think that you have a good routine, so I would like you to do that, but here, on the water, from now on. You'll be able to increase your stamina and control much faster that way." Jiraiya went back to his crucial research at the fence hole, took out his notebook, and carried on. Kyuubi, Naruto stepped out onto the water. The kid appeared to know what Naruto was going to do as it leapt onto a nearby boulder to observe. I wonder if Jiraiya's words were understood by that kid. I wouldn't be shocked by it. Smart as hell, foxes are. You would say that, of course. Will you begin now? Or, may we go somewhere to play? In the forest, I noticed a butterfly and I thought The voice that appeared in their minds out of nowhere made Naruto and Kyuubi wince. What was that? Yes, master, that was me. You had no idea we could communicate in this way? Naruto thought, great, another voice in my head, although he was happy to have another friend. You know I can hear that. Kyuubi, Naruto looked at the small fox. When you think aloud, as when you converse with Lord Kyuubi, I can hear it. You have our Lord sealed within you, which is why you can telepathically interact with us. Will you be exercising? I'm going home after that. The small fox disappeared in a wisp of ninja smoke. I suppose you now possess that power, Naruto, even though it seems limited to using summons at the moment. I could talk to them in that manner all the time. Alright. Now let's begin our training. To train with, Naruto, Kyuubi summoned a larger fox. This fox had dark purple, blue fur, slitted orange eyes, and stood up to Naruto's waist. Do you need something? We want to practice with a partner so that we can learn how to cooperate and become accustomed to having an ally in combat. A good plan, sir. Every few minutes, Jiraiya checked on the Naruto to see how his training was going. The boy picks things up quickly and appears to have a knack for working in a group. He moves in perfect sync with that summon, and I haven't heard him say a single word. Jiraiya watched the blonde splash through the water, creating clones that floated on the surface and enabling the dark fox to follow suit on their backs. The fox swung its razor sharp claws at unseen foes, and Naruto launched clones in his direction and flung kunai into the air. Jiraiya found it hard to accept that this was only a genin. The blonde possessed a level of precision and control over her movements that Jiraiya typically associated with Junin. How on earth did Naruto become so skilled and not get noticed sooner? How could he have become so skilled so quickly after failing the academy so many times? I am aware that Kakashi didn't spend a lot of time with him, but it seems like he had a personal trainer. Jiraiya shook his head, trying to get his mind straight. I must come up with something for him to do tomorrow, or else he may carry out his threat. Who am I to run from a genin's threats? There are drawbacks to being a pervert. The tournament starts in 2 days, Naruto. Are you sure that you want to do this? The blonde gave a nod. Fighting a Sannin this soon before your matches might not be a good idea, even if I go easy on you. Kyuubi and Naruto rolled their eyes. Their dual control allowed them to have superior control over their body, which allowed them to have reflexes nearly equal to those of a Junin. They were also much faster and stronger than most mortals thanks to the weights. Except for Maeda Guy and Rock Lee. If you're sure, Naruto, then I guess we should get started. The two ninjas fell into combat positions. They had selected a remote area of the forest to train in, away from any potential encounters in the women's bathhouse. Jiraiya did not believe that demolishing the bathhouse was a good idea, even though Naruto and Kyuubi had been willing to fight at their customary location at the springs. Fight with everything you have, Naruto, or I'll injure so badly that you'll miss the end of the Chunin exams. The dark purple, blue fox that Naruto, Kyuubi had been training with recently was summoned. Indeed, sir. It's the white-haired guy we are fighting today. Take whatever action you deem necessary. You shouldn't worry about hurting him too badly because he is very skilled. Yes. 24 clones of Naruto, Kyuubi were created, and they charged at Jiraiya with drawn kunai. But as soon as they were in striking range, Jiraiya blurred into being and destroyed the clones almost immediately. Jiraiya yelled, "Don't underestimate me, Naruto." With a nod, Naruto, Kyuubi turned to face the fox. You go left, and we'll go right. I'm working on it. Before they both came together to face the white-haired Sannin, Naruto, Kyuubi ran around to his right and the fox ran to his left. Naruto launched a forceful blow at the Sannin's face as the fox sliced at Jiraiya's stomach with his razor sharp claws. Jiraiya easily sidestepped both blows and proceeded to kick at Naruto's face. With a weighted arm, the blonde deflected the kick, causing the red wooden sandal to clank against the heavy metal. Without delay, Jiraiya withdrew to evade another clawed paw. Naruto Kyuubi appeared behind the Jiraiya with a sudden burst of speed. Grunting in pain, the Sannin spun around and parried the earth, shattering punch with an arm. That will make an impression. After dodging the fox's and the blonde's blows, Jiraiya flipped backwards, cleaned the blood off his arm, and created multiple seals. There was a big orange frog with purple spots. Jumping on top of the frog was Jiraiya. Hey, let's heat things up. A stream of oil leaked from the frog, and Jiraiya used simple fire jutsu to light it right away. The fox ducked too slowly, and when the fire hit his back legs, he disappeared in ninja smoke. I apologize, master. Still wearing his weights, Naruto Kyuubi was too far across to avoid the wide spray of fiery oil, and he was still recovering from the punch that Jiraiya had blocked. There was only one way to escape severe burns from the fire without having time to drop his weights and still manage to escape. Although it might not be a good idea, if we took the hit from the fire, we could die or suffer serious injuries. With a great burst of demonic chakra, Kyuubi shielded their body from the burning oil by enveloping it in a red, glowing armor. After the oil stopped flowing, Naruto Kyuubi leapt onto a branch and away from the blazing area, allowing the armor to disintegrate. He swiftly put the genjutsu back that the demonic chakra had taken away. Jiraiya gazed in shock. Kyuubi used chakra to protect him. How on earth is the demon able to release his chakra so fast without making Naruto feel enraged enough to use it, and with such authority? After deflecting the oil, the armor vanished when it was no longer required. A Jinkarichi who starts using demonic chakra will never stop until they are forced to stop, according to every instance I have ever heard of. However, Naruto and Kyuubi only used it briefly. The blonde launched an abrupt attack that startled the Sannin out of his reverie. Jiraiya, half dreaming, simply blocked the attacks, not really realizing the pain that came with each block. When Naruto and Kyuubi realized the Sannin wasn't really paying attention, they broke up their fight. I hope he doesn't make any snap decisions. That attack needed to be repelled, and there was no other option. He was serious when he threatened to hurt us too much to complete the tests. Jiraiya jolted awake from his daydream. Naruto, I'm sorry to cut our training short, but I just remembered something I need to do. Take tomorrow and the rest of today off to rest for the exams. Good luck in the tournament, Jiraiya said with a sigh. The Sannin shot off in the direction of Konoha. Sarutobi should be aware of this. Watching the white-haired Sannin go was Naruto Kyuubi. Oh no. After fighting Jiraiya, Naruto and Kyuubi knew that they would be too weak to fight off the ninjas who would undoubtedly come looking for him. They also knew that they would never be able to defeat Jiraiya without using enough demonic chakra to alert Konoha and all the visiting villages to the fight. So they took the best possible alternative to killing Jiraiya. From outside the office, Naruto Kyuubi heard Jiraiya conversing with the Hokage. The Hokage's office featured a window, so they positioned themselves beneath it so they could listen in without being seen. I'm hoping we can stay in Konoha. To what location would we travel? They would have to train alone, but hold on, they are speaking. And that's what happened. The Hokage was thinking as Jiraiya and Kakashi stood at attention. Jiraiya arrived slightly later than Kakashi, and both of them had told Naruto about the incident. Sighing, Sarutobi took a drag from his pipe. How on earth could someone wield such powerful demonic chakra control? Although Naruto has had it since shortly after birth, he shouldn't be allowed to summon it whenever he pleases and cease using it whenever he pleases. Jiraiya, I have Kakashi keeping an eye on him, so if anything comes up, Kakashi will tell me. It is indeed disturbing that anyone could control demon chakra so well, but we can't be sure of what that means about Naruto yet. In the meantime, I want to hear what you've learned about Akatsuki. Kakashi, you may want to listen to this, since it concerns Naruto. Jiraiya coughed a little. I'm not sure, but I think we could be in danger of an attack from another village. From what I heard, Akatsuki is planning to kidnap Naruto during some sort of confusion late in the exams. They didn't specify what the confusion would be, but I got the impression that they were just taking advantage of a situation that was being planned by someone else. As for Naruto, they have designated 2 men to capture him, Kisame and Uchiha Itachi. The legendary S-class missing nin were coming to capture a genin for their demon, and the Sandaime had a pained expression on his face. Jiraiya, I want you to follow Naruto for the remainder of the exams, the Sandaime said. You will still watch him closely, Kakashi, but I want Jiraiya to be with Naruto as much as possible. Kakashi, after the exams, there are some Anbu who would like your help on a murder case, coughed Sarutobi. Both of you are fired. Swiftly leaving to avoid being discovered listening in on their talk was Naruto, Kyuubi. On this day, which would mark the start of the tournament's first round, ninjas, nobility, and commoners hurried to secure seats in the stadium. The demon duo had accepted his excuse for staying with them without complaint, even though, cheering him on, was the sorriest excuse he had ever heard, and as they were about to sit down, they heard someone call their name. Naruto Kyuubi was walking down the aisle in the middle of the ninja section with Jiraiya accompanying him. Naruto, come sit next to me. I can go for the other dark, cool, angsty guy if Sasuke won't sit by me. I heard a rumor that he killed over a dozen people on his first C-class mission. It can't be true, but he must be really good to get such a reputation. Yamanaka Ino waved and pointed to the space next to her on the bench, near the aisle. The girl with blonde hair was seated next to Naruto, Kyuubi, while Jiraiya was seated across from Naruto. Have you got a partner? And here I was, thinking you spent all your time training. Jiraiya drooled. Ino blushed a little as Kyuubi and Naruto rolled their eyes. It's not that I simply assumed he required a seat, Ino stumbled a bit. Jiraiya nudged. Yes, you did. Perhaps you needed Naruto to stay by your side. Simply was drawn to his rugged good looks. His hair, a brilliant blonde. His moody, angsty demeanor. His stunning azure eyes. The other guy calling the half. Demon beautiful made the half. Demon shudder. Ino's redness intensified. That wasn't it. So you admit that you think he's cute? How come we were seated in between these two? Since there were no more available seats. Yes, that's right. Just because he's attractive doesn't mean that. When Ino realized what she had said, she covered her mouth with her hand. Jiraiya gave a loud laugh and patted the blonde boy on the back. Naruto, you're a lucky man. The white-haired man's actions infuriated Ino. Who do you think you are? Putting on his theatrical attire, Jiraiya stood up and declared, I am the great frog. Nin, the awe-inspiring Sannin, the legendary. Jiraiya glared at the blonde boy and said, pervert. The renowned Jiraiya, you ignorant bastard. You were a pervert, though. A pervert was making fun of her and boys, and Ino lost it. You sick man. You were a closet pervert, how dare you say such things? Seeing their opportunity, Naruto, Kyuubi said, he's not a closet pervert, he's a self-designated super pervert. Ignoring Jiraiya's beseeching expression, the dark ninja went on, he trains me over by the women's bathhouse so that he can peep while I practice. Ino appeared on the verge of blowing up. Remember how I said he makes notes about everything he sees in order to write sleazy books? Pervert. With Ino closing in, Jiraiya took off running. It was too simple, so Naruto, Kyuubi spread out on the now open area on the bench. That's how most mortals are. You just need to find the appropriate leverage. The blonde boy was forced to sit up from his prone position when Jiraiya and Ino returned just before the matches were scheduled to start. On one side of Naruto, Kyuubi was Jiraiya, and on the other was Ino. As Ino smirked and sat silently, the white-haired Sannin nursed a black eye and occasionally complained about cruel women. Through the speakers, a voice could be heard. They do indeed have speakers. They do, at least in my fiction. Welcome to the final round of the Chunin exams. Those who are participating should be ready, as your name could be called at any time. Those who are watching, please be aware that you are not allowed to directly influence any fight in any way. You may cheer, jeer, shout, and otherwise make a fool out of yourself, but you will refrain from throwing, kicking, or in any way moving any object into the arena, and you will also refrain from entering the arena yourself. Anyone seen violating these rules will be hunted down by Anbu and killed immediately. The assembly exhaled. Voices in the background seemed to be speaking quickly, and there was a slight bit of static. Sorry, anyone violating the rules will be removed from the arena and not allowed to return. You will not be killed. Disregard the earlier statement. Anxiously, the crowd murmured. The first match will be Narushikamaru against Sabaku no Tamari. Sarutobi grinned. It had been expertly done by the announcer. When the last match was played last year, only the threat of removal had been issued, and people were hurling objects because they were going to be leaving anyhow. Some had even taken advantage of that to get out of the stadium faster. They had decided to change things this year because they felt that had seriously compromised security. Hopefully, this year would be trouble-free for them. Shikamaru Nara rolled his eyes. It was just my luck to be selected to go first, and to fight, no less, against a woman. Such a hassle. I never get to fight any men. Why is that? The shadow user descended into the arena, directly across from Tamari, who was getting ready. A Chunin appeared to be the examiner as it stood apart on one side of the dirt stadium. Hajime. With a sly smile, Tamari opened her fan. I'll get through with him fast because I've heard he's intelligent, before he has a chance to formulate any plans in his pineapple-shaped brain. With a swung fan, the sand.nin sent a slashing gust of wind across the ground. Shikamaru sidestepped the attack by jumping to the side. He ran until he came to some trees that surrounded the fighting area on one side. Tamari let out a sigh. Is fleeing his cunning plan? Pathetic. I can't see him in there, but I can remove his body by blasting the trees with toothpicks. Disgusting to squander such a lovely. Tamari gave a headshake. She had no time for such things to ponder. Shikamaru hid underground, away from the sand kunoichi. He started to tunnel through the earth in the direction of the gullible Tamari. Such a hassle. However, it's the simplest approach with the highest likelihood of success. Tamari waved a powerful wind into the trees with a flick of her wrist. Tamari knew that everyone was aware of her weakness in close quarters fighting, so she yelled, "Come out, little leaf. I know you're in there, don't think you can just hide until I come in for close combat. I can blast those trees all day." Not a reply. Tamari scowled. This isn't a hide-and-seek game. This is a fighting match. Tamari blasted a powerful gust of wind at a lone tree, scattering leaves all around. Shikamaru was hiding well, if he was in there at all. Shikamaru stopped digging in the interim. It's time for a quick break. Digging is very difficult. Tamari was becoming increasingly irritated. That lazy bum was evidently hiding behind the tree trunks, even though she had struck every tree at least once. Why'd I find myself in situations like this all the time? Should she move a bit closer? She wondered. Shikamaru's tunnel was completed. There were just a few twigs supporting the dirt over the tunnel's end. Tamari will fall in here once she comes to investigate, and I can take her fan and conceal it while she tries to escape, allowing me to fight her without her bothersome wind powers. During Tenten's match, I witnessed that fan's effectiveness, so I don't need to personally witness it. Waiting, Shikamaru said she would arrive at some point. For the last 30 minutes, Tamari had been blasting trees, and now she was staring at them. Perhaps I was overestimating this guy. Perhaps he is too afraid to leave, or perhaps he is dead or unconscious and has become stuck in a tree branch. Tamari let out a sigh. There was only one thing to do, even though it probably wasn't a good idea. She made her way over to the trees to look around. She fell into a pit when the ground suddenly gave way beneath her. As she fell into the pitch, black underground abyss, she let out an involuntary scream. She noticed a shadowy figure move across the pit's floor before realizing she was immobile. Shadow imitation technique, success. With pity, Shikamaru cast a glance at the girl. Regretfully, she must have to end it this way. The fan Tamari had dropped was picked up by him when he reached down. The sand.nin mimicked his steps, but it had nothing to hold onto. The fan was raised above Shikamaru's head. Tamari played along. Next, Shikamaru dropped it onto the head of the kunoichi. She was not knocked out by it. Such a hassle. After giving her a brutal beating, Shikamaru brought her body back to the surface. When the examiner realized Tamari was unconscious, he hurried over and gestured to someone in the bleachers. Winner, Nara Shikamaru, was announced over the loudspeaker. Kyuubi and Naruto sat there looking amused. Coming at you from below, huh? Appeared to function rather well. We ought to investigate that later. The loudspeakers cut in between the odd couple. Next match, Yamanaka Ino vs Uzumaki Naruto. Both of the devils rolled their eyes. It would be easy after the match with Lee. Ino gave the fair-haired boy a wink. Looks like it's you and me, come on, Naruto. The mind. Walker strode into the arena. After leaping into the air and landing in the arena, Naruto, Kyuubi leapt once more to position themselves far apart from Ino. They looked in her direction. Ino gave the fair-haired boy a look. Why does he never say anything? He used to be so giddy, I recall, back when I chased Sasuke only to get even with Sakura. Then, though, he fell silent. And what on earth might have spurred him on to study? Though I've heard about his skill as a ninja, he was clearly paying attention in class. So why didn't he receive higher grades? How could he get better so fast? Ino braced herself for the impending battle. As long as he continues to underestimate me, I have to end this quickly. I can't possibly match the kind of speed I witnessed him employ in his battle with Lee. But if I pull it off right, after I defeat someone as insane as Rock Lee, nobody will ever call me weak again." To the announcer, the examiner gestured. The speakers snapped back to life. Hajime. When the match began, Naruto, Kyuubi jogged in the direction of Ino. For them, at least, it was jogging, but to those in the stadium who had not watched his debut, it appeared as though he was running as quickly as he possibly could. That's what weight training will take care of. The pair of demons conferred with each other. "How do you feel? When she doubles over, why not give her a kick to the stomach and an uppercut to the face? Might function. My personal preference is to send her flying across the arena with a high kick, then spring into the air and give her a body slam. That could end the match right there if the weights are on." "Yes, but shouldn't we practice with this match first? However, she is quite a distance from where we are." "That's right. Fighting skills are not going to be improved by beating up a defenseless genin." They suddenly gained tremendous speed, sprinted over to Ino, and sprang in for the aerial high kick. With multiple skids on the ground, Ino soared across the arena and stopped just yards from the wall. With a strong jump, Naruto, Kyuubi intended to land directly on the blonde girl. Ino was shocked by how quickly Naruto had changed. He was moving so quickly when all of a sudden he was in front of me. She had instinctively closed her eyes as she skidded across the dirt, but she opened them once she stopped. He is superior to me. He's going to drop all those weights on me. Even though she was hurt from the kick, there was not enough time to duck. But she had one last thought as she watched Naruto fall. He finds it difficult to pivot in midair. I can now aim where I want. Ino finished her signature ninjutsu technique, mind, body transfer technique, and formed several seals that she was very familiar with. As they fell, Naruto and Kyuubi grinned to themselves. The girl could do nothing but watch helplessly as she would be too stunned by the kick to move out of the way in time. Whoa, what a mess. Kyuubi, she's employing that method, that mental trick. Naturally, of course. Why hadn't we considered that? We must relocate. They attempted to use the shadow clone they had created to avoid the Yamanaka's well-known move, but they were unable to move quickly enough in midair to avoid the blonde girl's aim. All they could do with all their might was to keep their bodies from crushing the girl as they had planned. Rather, it landed right next to her, creating a tiny crater on the ground and shooting a cloud of dust skyward. Hold on, Naruto, I have a thought. It was Ino who entered Naruto's head. Indeed, I succeeded. She glanced around for the chair, a metaphor for the metaphysical control over the body. When she failed to notice it, she was taken aback. His mind is enormous, wow. How could his thinking be like that of sewer rats? Furthermore, how could it have so many passages? As Ino meandered through the shadowy passageways of Naruto's mind, she eventually came upon a tiny chamber. Right on. The chair is over there. All I have to do now is give up my identity as Naruto formally and go back to my own body. However, she discovered that Naruto was not in the chair when she moved forward. Additionally, there was no indication of his presence near the chair. All that was left was a glowing orange mist that collected in the chair before vanishing and emerging into a larger space around a corner. How? Since time moves slowly in people's minds, I just saw him in the outside world, and there's no way he could have used jutsu in the interim to negate my technique. But how was he able to disappear? Ino heard a footstep and spun around. Naruto was standing there, all black, staring at her. How? Is he really out of the chair? And observing me? Nobody is meant to have consciousness inside of them. How on earth is he here? When Naruto approached Ino and grabbed her wrist, she was too shocked to even respond. Naruto's voice was mockingly happy and tinged with sarcasm. Come over here, Ino. There's someone I want you to meet. He started dragging her toward the spacious chamber. While Ino attempted to break free, Naruto held her in a vice. Light grip that did not cause any pain, despite her belief that it should have. What? How can you be here? No one is conscious within their own mind. No one, Ino exclaimed. Then it dawned on her. With a fit of hysterics, Ino exclaimed, wait, you want me to meet someone? You have someone else in here. But she was unable to break free from the dark ninja. As they turned the corner, Ino noticed a massive cage with massive iron bars and a kanji written sign on it. Demon Seal of Death God. With the exception of the menacing cage, the room was empty as Ino desperately searched around for anything that could aid in her escape. Ino saw a large shape on the other side as they got closer to the bars. A massive orange fox sat motionless, gazing off into the distance. Its light was a sickly reddish orange, glowing softly. Ino saw that the orange mist trailed all the way to the fox's tail. A strange calm settled over Ino. Is this how accepting death feels? As Naruto led Ino up to the bars, she fixed her gaze on the fox. It appears exactly as a person would when operating their body normally in a chair. However, unless, there is no way it could be able to control the body from inside. Naturally, of course, its mist is its chakra, and it uses the chakra to manipulate the body. However, what is it? What made Naruto allow it to take control of his body? This fox appears to be somewhat familiar to me. It could be from a dream, a nightmare, or a picture I saw a long time ago. They came to a stop in front of the cage's bars. Hey, Kyuubi! You ready? Yelled Naruto. Ino went cold. Has he seen Kyuubi? Like the demon that nearly 14 years ago tormented Konoha. It was, indeed, a monstrous creature. A fox. However, how is it here? To kill it, the Yondaime sacrificed his life. How could it have just popped into Naruto's head? Abruptly, the fox jerked its head downward to survey the two humans. Do you own her? All right, put her in this position. There's only one thing we could have done. We couldn't have let her control you, and we definitely couldn't have let her go after seeing me. Ino started to struggle fiercely, but Naruto's well-defined muscles were far more powerful than her meager strength. She screamed, "Leave me alone. You don't have to kill me. I won't tell anyone." Naruto threw her between the bars, which were positioned widely enough to let humans pass through but closely enough apart to keep Kyuubi from escaping. Kyuubi sprang down, mouth agape, and Ino let out a scream. Kyuubi made a sudden move, biting the stupid kunoichi in half. Well, he tried to, anyway. He felt a little resistance to his teeth as he bit into the girl, but it broke easily and released a small amount of chakra. He felt nothing when he tried to bite off his mouthful to devour her. The demon fox peered down to see Ino still trembling in terror, curled up into a fetal position. Kyuubi knelt and tried to bite her once more. He had no feelings. How come? How are you going to oppose my power? When Ino opened her eyes, she noticed the enormous fox looming above her and giving her a questioning look. I'm still here. I'm still here. However, how? I witnessed him descending to bite me. Ino rose to her feet gradually. She started to turn to face the cage's bars, but as soon as she saw one of Kyuubi's paws go through her from behind, she screamed and leapt. His paw pierced me completely. Thus, that implies. Ino turned to face the Lord of the Demons. You can't touch me, can you? The fox gave a grimace and a growl, but did not move. A very perplexed fox and a stunned Naruto were left behind as Ino dashed out of the cage and toward the chair. She quickly took a seat in the chair and used her training to focus past her thoughts. She woke up with her own body lying next to her. She got up and opened her mouth, only to feel as though someone had jolted her out of reality. Ino was hurled across Naruto's mental chamber. She landed in the corner in a heap. A trail of orange chakra gathered in the chair again as he watched her. He kept watch over her as Kyuubi gave the order, won the battle, and leapt back into the dining area. Naruto approached the sobbing Ino who was still leaning against the wall in his thoughts. We need to make sure we're safe. We need to make sure we're safe. I'm capable of this. I'm sorry, Ino. We can't let you live, Naruto said in a monotone. With wild eyes, Ino looked up. Her red eyes blazed. You wouldn't. She realized he was actually going to kill her when she saw the expression of neutrality on his face. She gave a start and got up. With the intent to kill with one strike, Naruto crushed her face with a punch. The punch made Ino flinch, but she did not feel any pain. She gave Naruto the hardest possible slap across his face, leaving him stunned, but he showed no signs of pain. They looked at one another, each realizing from the other's expression that they had not hurt the other at all. Naruto uttered words. Well, I guess we have to let you live, but we won't let you leave. As Naruto approached the chair and took a seat on one side, giving Kyuubi the other half of his body control, Ino looked on. She had been told that voices like these only occurred in the minds of the insane, but she heard faint, echoey voices speaking. However, she soon identified them as Kyuubi and Naruto. She heard her name called multiple times, though she was unable to understand most of what they were saying. Ino looked at the amount of chakra she still had. She had no emotions. With a hint of panic, she searched for any remnant of chakra. Nothing. She then recalled the peculiar sensation she had experienced after being bitten by Kyuubi. She was completely devoid of chakra. Ino began to cry once more. She found herself trapped in her mind alongside a ruthless demon and a heartless boy. A few minutes later, Ino heard Naruto rise from the Chira, another thing that shouldn't have been possible. Seated in the same corner of Naruto's mind, she felt oddly heavy, even though her technique usually made her feel incredibly light when she was inside someone else's head. Through the opening in his mask, Naruto was staring down at her when she looked up. Naruto turned his back on her, appearing a little uneasy. "I'm sorry it ended that way. We didn't expect you to use that technique of yours." Ino said something quietly. "Naruto, I'm trapped in your mind. I lost all of my chakra when," she gasped, "he bit me. I can't leave." Uneasy, Naruto shifted. "I'm sorry, we didn't mean for things to happen like this. I don't know what to do." Examining Naruto's profile, Ino found it challenging to see it against the murky backdrop of his thoughts. What's making him sound so anxious? It wasn't too long ago that he attempted my murder. Ino started crying inaudibly. How did I earn this right? Neji easily defeated Kankuro, whose puppet was unable to move quickly enough to pursue the Hyuga prodigy, while Naruto was engaged in other activities. It was announced who would play next. Uchiha Sasuke vs Sabaku no Gaara. After arriving at the arena, the two ninja faced one another across the large field. After giving them a quick glance, the examiner signed to the announcer, who exclaimed, "Hajime." Sasuke was wise enough not to attempt taijutsu. Just as it had done to Kiba, the sand that surrounded the insomniac all the time would simply bat him into a wall. Sasuke was not very good at genjutsu, so that left ninjutsu. With multiple seals formed, Sasuke threw a massive fireball at the impassive sand. The fireball got blocked by the sand. Sasuke fired a number of tiny fireballs. The unwavering protection of the sand also prevented them. Sasuke scowled. "If I can't get through his sand, how can I beat him? And that's it. Use the Chidori to get through the sand, and then move in again once his defenses should have given way." Sasuke quickly sealed 3 times, then charged the one unique technique his sensei had taught him. As the Chidori gained more and more energy, the sound filled the arena like a flock of small birds, rising in pitch and volume. Sasuke lunged towards Gaara. The sand rose to protect him, as was to be expected, but Sasuke still advanced with the attack. With the sand piercing it like a hot knife through butter, Sasuke's arm reached just far enough to make contact with the insomniac. Gaara cast a glance over his shoulder. He had been hit by the strange attack and was bleeding. Gaara gulped. "Blood? My blood?" From her position slightly behind Gaara, Temari could see the attack pierce the shield of sand and indeed hit. She caught her younger brother's astonished cry. "Whoa, what a mess. The plan is ruined. Shukaku will be released by Gaara, which means that Kabuto will have to start early, which will annoy those fans of the sound." Gaara's sand dropped to the floor all around. Seeing his opponent's defense suddenly break, Sasuke lunged forward and punched him in the face. With a painful grimace, Sasuke leapt away from the sand. While holding onto his fist. That felt a lot like hitting a rock. What does that man consist of? When Sasuke looked up, he noticed the tiny fissures that appeared where he had struck Gaara. He is made of rock, what the heck? Or perhaps sand. Abruptly, Sasuke's attention was drawn to the sand, which was now moving once more. The sand began to rise slowly, then picked up speed, forming a sphere around the insane sand. Sasuke saw his opportunity to strike. With haste, he called forth his last Chidori, as Kakashi had advised him not to try more than 2, and dashed in the direction of the sphere of sand. But before he could get there, Sasuke was crushed by a massive, clawed hand that emerged from the sand. Sasuke made an unsuccessful attempt to escape. The hand tightened its grip. Sasuke heard organs burst and bones crack. With a sickening squish, the hand suddenly balled into a fist and splattered Sasuke all over the place. The crowd let out a cry and started to flee the stadium, but as Temari had predicted, it abruptly passed out. The sand sphere encircling Gaara shifted, revealing his metamorphosis into a hybrid of sand and human. He leapt into the stands, seeing Konoha Junin moving around the stadium. "Blood. You will pay for my blood with yours." Temari hastily exited the stadium after determining that her presence near Gaara was not required by the plan. Naruto, Kyuubi observed individuals passing out for no apparent reason as he peered around. What is this? Something akin to genjutsu? Why then are we unaffected? I'm most likely involved in it in some way. We must put an end to that Gaara man. If we don't stop him, he'll kill everyone. Why should we be concerned about that? Something crashed loudly across the village. 3 enormous snakes were tearing down the village walls into dust when Naruto, Kyuubi peered over the stadium walls. "We are under attack in the village. and our chances of survival decrease with the number of Konoha ninja we save. Yes. Kit, let's get this done. However, a tall, blonde man suddenly materialized in front of them before they could move. What did you do to my daughter? Naruto, Kyuubi looked perplexed at the man. The village is under attack, mortal. Get out of my way. Inoishi scowled. I'll just have to work hard at it. I'll just look, since he obviously wouldn't know if Ino is still on his mind. Inoishi started creating seals for a technique used by the Yamanaka family that would give him mental access to the boy. Inoishi remarked, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you, yet. I just need to see what happened to my daughter," as he watched the boy fall into a fighting stance. Kyuubi, Naruto paused. Inoishi finished the technique at that precise moment and peered into Naruto's mind. Naturally, he noticed Naruto, but the youngster was seated on one side of the chair while an orange mist filled the other, leading to the Kyuubi. Naruto's body is under the control of the Kyuubi. I heard a rumor, and it was true. The demon has truly taken over Naruto to the extent of possession. Then Inoishi noticed Ino, sobbing while leaning against a wall in the musty hallways of Naruto's consciousness. How? What is her reason for being over there? Inoishi noticed the telltale symptoms of the one ailment that was incurable when he looked closer. Because she had run out of chakra, Ino was stuck in the Kyuubi brat's head. Inoishi withdrew since he was unable to communicate with his daughter in that way. Unaware that Inoishi had already learned too much, Naruto and Kyuubi decided during the brief technique that they did not want the man who appeared to be Ino's father to use any technique on them. With an overly formal tone, Naruto, Kyuubi said, "Yamanaka-san, there are more pressing matters to attend to," hoping to appease the man for the time being. They saw the man's eyes bulge suddenly. The blonde man exclaimed, "Demon!" The demon has possessed him, and shot off at a breakneck pace. It finally dawned on the demon and boy as they were about to advance on the furious Gaara, who was currently engaged in combat with over a dozen Konoha ninja. He is aware. He'll let the others know. He is aware. He'll let the others know. Murder him. Hurry up. Move quickly. He's running away. They took off running after Ino's father. When an unfortunate sound Nin attempted to stop them, a pair of kunai struck him in the eyes. He was blind to the black blur that raced past him as he howled in pain. Inoishi sprinted as quickly as he could. Not only did he have to outrun the demon, but he also had to immediately notify the Hokage. The Hokage is where? I can't stop to look, but he's not in the box seats. Perhaps he's engaged in combat outside the arena. Inoishi quickly made up for the blonde man's early advantage as he dashed out of the stadium, fully aware of the pair of blood-red eyes glaring at him from behind. Kyuubi and Naruto chased after Inoishi. We cannot allow him to escape in any way. He is aware. He knows somehow. Then remove the pointless weights. They began to run, dropping their weights as they went, but before they could benefit from their newfound speed, two ninjas materialized in front of him, their bodies concealed by long, black cloaks painted with images of red clouds and their faces hidden beneath wide, brimmed hats. The Naruto, Kyuubi came to a complete stop. They could feel the men's power even from a distance of several feet. The shorter man raised his head, his crimson eyes appearing to shine from beneath the hat. Naruto-kun, come with us. Get out of my way. I need to stop that man. The taller man stepped in front of Naruto, Kyuubi as he attempted to maneuver around them, revealing his blue face with gill markings on his cheeks. There is no longer any need to hide your true identity. Our organization wishes you to come with us for that very reason. The fair-haired boy growled. You want us for our power? Do you think we are stupid? You don't want our help? Ninja of your caliber could only be seeking to gain power, not to gain people. You don't need help. The man with red eyes grinned. Then I guess there is no reason to prolong this conversation. Kisame, if you would, please. Of course, Itachi. Should I remove one or both of his legs? Now that his hiding place was no longer needed, Kyuubi let out a small amount of demonic chakra, turning his eyes crimson and making his pupils grow longer until they formed slits. His canine teeth grew slightly longer, and his whisker markings thickened and lengthened. An aura of orange shrouded him. You won't be removing anything. Die, mortal. With a blinding speed, Naruto, Kyuubi leapt at Kisame, intending to rake his claws across his face. With a long, wide object covered in bandages, Kisame ducked and swatted Naruto away. After flipping and landing on his feet, Naruto, Kyuubi released more chakra, creating the demonic chakra armor. With so much chaotic chakra coursing through Naruto's body that it had started to bleed, Kyuubi concentrated more chakra on healing him. The blonde gave a flying leap. Kisame let the boy land and drew his weapon back for another blow when all of a sudden a big, fiery chakra hand reached down and seized him. Kisame twisted out of the hand's hold while groaning in agony from the demonic chakra's heat. "That's enough. Come with us." Kisame gave the order before revealing his weapon to be a long, jagged sword that started squeezing Kyuubi's chakra. In an attempt to neutralize the sword's power, Naruto and Kyuubi released even more chakra. Seemingly like a black hole, the sword sucked in an immense quantity of destructive chakra. Kisame felt gusts of wind blowing around her due to the abundance of chakra in the atmosphere. The man in blue waited calmly. The boy would eventually come to the conclusion that trying to use that chakra while there was an exposed Samahata nearby was pointless. Pumping out more and more chakra, Naruto Kyuubi laughed as he watched the sword start to glow orange. Unaware that his sword had changed, Kisame just stared at the boy. The sword started to glow orange after a short while. Gazing down at the sword, Kisame pondered over its potential purpose. Subsequently, Samahata burst into fragments, with pieces of it hurtling in every direction while fiery demonic chakra burst into the atmosphere. Kisame, who had become a pincushion for his sword, motioned for Itachi to seize the boy. Now that they were no longer under the influence of Samahata, Naruto and Kyuubi found themselves engulfed in a tremendous demon chakra storm because of how much of it they had been using to block the sword. Out of the chakra, they created a massive hand with claws and pulled it back to attack. Itachi moved at a speed that would make Rock Lee blush as it flickered and materialized behind them. The two demons struck Kisame, who was hurt instead of seeing the red-eyed ninja. Kisame was completely unprepared for it, having assumed that the boy would be preoccupied with Itachi. The hand channeled an immense amount of chakra as it engulfed the shark-man in a crushing grip. Kisame's blood started to boil in his veins as he writhed and struggled in vain. Itachi threw a kunai at the back of Naruto's Kyuubi's head after determining that he should probably save his partner. The demonic chakra deflected it. Instead, Itachi scowled and blasted a massive ball of fire at the boy. The demonic chakra deflected it. Itachi made a wave of water crash in the boy's direction. As it got closer to Naruto Kyuubi, the water turned to steam, but the wave never even touched him. Itachi attacked the boy with a clone. When it got closer than 10 feet to the boy, the demonic chakra's raging inferno caused it to poof itself out of existence. After putting Kisame's burnt corpse on the ground, Naruto Kyuubi turned to look at Itachi. The blonde met Itachi's eyes directly. Itachi turned to face him again and saw that the fight needed to end. Abruptly, Naruto found himself strapped to a massive wooden cross on a plain of dirt, beneath a scarlet sky. Itachi, a short katana in hand, stood in front of him. The Nuke.Nin gave a small smile. Since he would be carrying Kisame for some time, using the Tsukiyomi SP on an overconfident Jinchuuriki would make things much easier, even though he had never used one before. But Itachi felt someone behind him, even as he started his usual speech. Glancing back, he noticed an incredibly large and irritated Kyuubi no Kitsune. Itachi scowled. Maybe this was the reason the leader had advised Itachi not to use this power on demon hosts. A massive paw smashed the ground where Itachi had just been, narrowly missing Naruto as Itachi leapt out of the way. Itachi let out a sigh. This was his genjutsu, and he made the rules of this world, though he was by no means an equal to the Yondaime. Furthermore, according to the rules, Kyuubi would be bound in chains that would not break from demonic chakra, preventing the person they held from using it. Kyuubi was suddenly encased in chains. Kyuubi growled and gave a sharp jerk to break the chains. Itachi changed his mind. Unbreakable chains that were impervious to demonic chakra would envelop Kyuubi, preventing the person they held from channeling that chakra. Kyuubi was once more encased in chains. With a growl, the demon flailed his body, rocking the genjutsu community with his struggles. Itachi grinned. Regarding the boy now. Kyuubi gave a loud crack as he snapped the chains. With wide eyes, Itachi gazed at the demon, who was now engulfed in a demonic chakra flame. Itachi leapt backward, just missing the enormous paw that pounded the earth into dust. Itachi started to jog backwards as ideas for how to stop the nine-tailed fox flew through his head. Itachi felt clumsy, uncharacteristically so, tripping over something and landing on his back. He was up in a moment, jogging faster in the opposite direction. Naturally, he was jogging at his own pace, which was swift enough to keep him away from the enraged demon pursuing him. He turned to see what had tarnished the otherwise flawless surface of his genjutsu world as he ran. Itachi witnessed Kyuubi dash past a young girl with long blonde hair and a purple outfit. The abrupt disturbance startled Ino, the girl, and she started to stand up. Itachi arched an eyebrow while sprinting. How many different entities was Naruto aware of? With a slow gait, Ino stood up, her surroundings completely lost. Is this not what Naruto is thinking? It appears too dissimilar. When Ino turned to look in that direction, she heard a lot of noise. There, she observed the massive demon fox chasing a small man while running free. Moving away from the fox, Ino ran in the opposite direction. She slowed to a jog after the fox vanished from view, not sure where she was going but feeling vaguely that she had to keep going. She soon came upon Naruto, shackled to a wooden cross. She decelerated and came up to him. Naruto? The boy raised his head. Ino, how did you get here? I don't know. I just woke up here. How did we get here? And where is here? I don't know how we got here. That guy just looked at us, and then we were here, and I was tied up. And I don't know where here is. Hey, if it's not too much trouble, could you let me down from here? Ino gave him a fierce look. You get me stuck in your mind with a giant demon, forever cut off from the world, then somehow teleport me to some weird place with a red sky, and you have the nerve to ask for my help? Yes. Ino gave a snort. It appeared that Naruto had some remnant of his old sense of humor left. Naruto was able to fall to the ground when Ino broke free from the chains. Thanks, Ino. Don't thank me. Get us out of here. Naruto surveyed his surroundings. Well, I would guess that to do that, we would need some help from the guy who got us here. Or maybe this is some trick, like a genjutsu, and killing him would dispel it. Or maybe it will wear off after a while. But at any rate, Kyuubi is chasing that guy, so... Wait, here they come again. They could barely make out the Kyuubi's massive silhouette running toward them in the distance, towards the horizon. They could see the small man at its feet as it approached, his cloak appearing slightly burned in some areas. The small Nuke.Nin easily avoided Kyuubi's second demon fire jet as he ran. Squeaking, Ino ducked behind Naruto. She was able to sense the man's power even. Moving forward, Naruto created 50 shadow clones. As Ino watched, the man glanced at the clones before turning back to face the pursuing fox. The world went dark as the man sealed something. Ino discovered that she was once again on the floor in Naruto's mind. She noticed Naruto sitting unevenly on the chair while he shared some of the orange mist with it. It appears that Naruto has me back in his head. This, oddly enough, was a consoling thought after what she had seen of the strange land she had just left. Even in his thoughts, Ino saw the clenching of Naruto's face in concentration. What was happening in that area? When Ino heard a faint cracking sound, she turned to face her back. Behind her, a tiny fissure in the stone wall surfaced. Silently listening, she picked up several more cracking noises that seemed to be coming from all over Naruto's head. Ino scowled. What is happening? Why are the walls crumbling? Naruto, Kyuubi lunged towards Itachi, not particularly shocked when the agile man slipped out of his reach. They whirled to remain visible to Itachi and extended a chakra, wielding hand to seize him. Given how much demonic chakra was already coursing through their bodies, they had to get this fight over with as soon as possible. Itachi sidestepped the hand and continued walking through Konoha's streets. When Itachi turned around at last, he quickly sealed. After what looked like a flicker, he created multiple more seals and blasted dark flames towards the enormous hand that was now more than 50 feet away from Naruto. The hand swiftly closed over the red and black cloak, unaffected by the flames. The hand was blasted away by an abrupt explosion, and the real Itachi, brandishing a poisoned kunai, leapt to attack the blonde boy from behind. When the explosion dispelled their hand, Kyuubi and Naruto scowled. What did that consist of? How far away did he go? Behind us, Itachi approached them too fast for them to respond. With the kunai held high, he stabbed Naruto in the back, causing the demon host to be quickly subdued by the poison, giving Itachi an easy victory. That was Itachi's plan, anyway. When Itachi attempted to stab the kunai toward Naruto's back, the chakra armor repelled it. Itachi winced as the Kyuubi's lethal chakra seared his hand. The feeling of the poison seeping into his veins made him realize that Kisame was probably already dead. Itachi scowled. This was going to be a simple catch, a one-shot genin. Napping. The boy released a powerful chakra blast out of his back, and Itachi scrambled back to dodge it. With his demonic chakra, this genin is extremely proficient. I'm curious as to how frequently he uses it and whether the demon is in control of him. Itachi saw the boy suddenly transform into a seal. 100 shadow clones materialized, all fashioned from the fiery chakra of the demon. While the others advanced to encircle Itachi, a few clones leapt towards him. Itachi attempted to blast the clones with black flames, but discovered that each clone had a thin layer of armor covering them. A single clone disappeared as the flames penetrated his armor, but the others attacked Itachi as soon as they were in close proximity, attempting to bite or slash with their ferocious fangs. Itachi used his arm to block a slash before it could cut his neck. The talons penetrated his limb, cutting arteries and contaminating his blood with additional demon energy. Itachi dodged, parried, and stabbed, but for every clone he killed, 2 more appeared from the sidelines. Itachi saw the clones all around him freeze for a split second, and he swiftly stabbed a kunai into each of them, dispelling them all at once. Itachi turned to face the original demon boy he had last seen. Itachi's eyes widened, seeing a massive sphere of demonic energy sizzling toward him directly through the atmosphere. As it hurtled toward the noob.nin, it ripped and burned the earth beneath it, destroying any homes, businesses, or other tangible objects in its path. There was no way to avoid the mountain-sized fireball. Deactivating his Sharingan, Itachi took one final look at the world through his true vision before the crackling ball of destruction engulfed him, instantly erasing all memory of him. When the sound.nin saw the Konoha ninjas facing it suddenly panic and run, the large group cheered. The elite ninjas of the sound were the most terrifying thing there was. Clearly, those foolish leaf nins. A crackling sound came from behind them, and several nins spun around. Just enough time for them to gape in horror before Kyuubi's chakra engulfed them in a massive inferno. Sarutobi battled to free Orochimaru's soul from within the Sound Force barrier in an attempt to survive long enough to witness the snake nin's demise. Orochimaru drew back as hard as he could. This old man could not win, not in his face. This was supposed to be simple, but the geezer only needed to stop the fourth from being summoned, wasn't that right? Orochimaru perceived the third Hokage's sudden lack of effort. What's the matter, old man? Getting tired? Sadistic, Sarutobi smiled. It was nice to see you again, Orochimaru, although I wish it were under different circumstances. Orochimaru's eyebrow went up. Was the elderly man growing so forgetful that he was easily sidetracked from the altercation? With a gradual return of his soul to his body, Orochimaru felt it. Once more, the Sandaime spoke. The barrier that your servants have created works by reflecting any physical material, and is enhanced by its ability to set that material on fire. That keeps almost all attacks from penetrating its walls. You were lucky that no one figured out that fire would pass right through it. But now it is my turn to be lucky. I had already planned to die today, but now I can be certain that you will follow me to the afterlife. Once your body is destroyed, you and I have an appointment with Shinigami. Orochimaru scowled. What do you have up your sleeve, old? Orochimaru heard a sizzling sound, so loud that he turned to look back, just before he was completely destroyed by the titanic sphere of evil chakra that passed through the barrier as if it were not even there. His eyes widened in shock at the realization that he was dead. Along with him went the Sound 4 and most of the people who had been observing the fight. Ino was beginning to worry. Naruto's mind was nearly completely filled with an orange mist that appeared to be the demon's chakra and abruptly flowed out of the cage, which was strange enough. Now, though, Naruto's mental structure was crumbling. Rock fragments were continuously dropping from the ceiling, and every stone on the walls, the ceiling, and the floor had cracks that were growing quickly. What is happening? Kyuubi and Naruto were gasping for air. Naruto's body was not used to channeling nearly that much chakra, and that had required a lot. They both sensed that they had to stop quickly as the demonic chakra was tearing apart their bodies, but before they knew it, Inoishi had returned with a small army of leaf ninjas, prepared to put an end to the reincarnation of Kyuubi. Another tiny fireball was thrown by Naruto, Kyuubi at a group of leaf.nin, scattering them. Kunai landed on him like raindrops on concrete, bouncing off the chakra armor without causing any damage. As far as they could tell, even though they had to use enough chakra to create the armor, it shielded their body from harm. But even the armor's deterioration was wearing them down by now, and soon they would reach the breaking point, the point where they would have to drop the armor and stop using demonic chakra, or perish. In this kunai hailstorm, Naruto, Kyuubi could not afford to take off their armor, and even if they could, the sheer volume of foes would force them to continue. Every breath brought another spattering of blood from the long gashes the chakra had torn in their skin. The two demons raged, throwing fireballs in all directions, but there were too many to hit, and the attack barely threatened any leaf.nin. As more people in the village concluded fights, Naruto and Kyuubi sensed that their limit was drawing near. Kid, it's time for us to leave. We will never be able to defeat so many and survive. But these wounds will make it impossible for us to run quickly enough to escape from all of these ninja once we stop using your chakra. Next, shall we bring as many to Shinigami as we can? Yes, in fact. Then I can take care of that, Kid. Given that my chakra will be involved almost exclusively, it will be simpler if I work alone on this. Go tell that woman what's going to happen, please. Fine. For the final time, Naruto gave up control of his body and vanished into his thoughts. Kyuubi turned to face the ninjas and realized that this was the day he would die. Then again, practically every one of these ninja who opposed him would as well. For some reason, Kyuubi did not find the thought of dying repulsive. Kyuubi was almost looking forward to the day when he would be able to let go of all his worries and simply let himself sink into the emptiness that is death. However, first, Kyuubi let loose the entirety of his chakra, shattering any limitations the body might have placed on the quantity of chakra that could flow through it. Kyuubi would have 10 seconds or so to exact his revenge, and he meant to make the most of every second of it. For the very last time, a massive, nine-tailed fox loomed over the tallest buildings in Konoha. Stepping down from the chair was Naruto. Glancing around, he noticed Ino staring at the inside of his mind crumbling. Naruto approached her. Ino. The sound of her name caused the girl to spin around. Naruto. What is going on? Why is your mind falling apart? They were startled by a loud noise that sounded like a strong wind. Naruto's mental state starts to deteriorate even faster. Massive blocks of stone toppled from the walls and the ceiling. From Kyuubi's cage, chakra flowed like water, all of it going to the chair that Kyuubi used in his last moments. I'm sorry for everything that happened to you, Ino. My mind is dying. I am dying. Using Kyuubi's chakra hurts my body, and we cannot stop using it because of all the enemies out there. So Kyuubi is going to use as much chakra as he can, and try and take as many of them down with us as possible. I don't know what will happen to you when I die. I am almost certain that Kyuubi will follow me to Shinigami, but I have no idea what will happen to you. Ino let out a gasp. You're dying. After giving a nod, Naruto removed his mask. His blonde hair returned to its usual prickly state. Aren't you even a little bothered by the thought of dying? Ino responded. Naruto had a contemplative expression. I have waited for death since my first sensei died. I thought I had died then, but as it turned out, I just ended up here somehow. I found out about Kyuubi, and we worked together after that. But really, there isn't anything here for me. If I can't defend myself against other ninja, then I may as well die, and be at peace at last. Ino scowled. Naruto, I was just getting used to living here in your head, and now you're telling me that you're going to die, in the same voice that someone would talk about the weather. What do you expect me to do? I don't know, but I thought that you deserved to know what was going on. I will be gone very soon, and so it is only polite to say goodbye, don't you think? Naruto smiled faintly. Suddenly, Ino started crying. I just got to know you, but I don't want you to die, Naruto. Isn't there anything you can do? Can't you run away? Can't you hide? Naruto shook his head slowly, a troubled look on his face. We are too injured to escape without using Kyuubi's chakra, and using it would not get away fast enough to be able to stop using it and survive. That is why Kyuubi is out there fighting. Clasping Naruto's neck with her arms, Ino sobbed into his shoulder. With nothing else to say or do, Naruto wrapped his arms around her and held her firmly. In Konoha, Kyuubi reared to his former height and stood tall. With a loud howl, he unleashed a demonic chakra shockwave that flattened surrounding buildings and sent ninja flying back several blocks. Gazing upon the town, Kyuubi unleashed a torrent of fire upon the diminutive and pitiful ninja. Flaming ninjas screamed in anguish and pain, rolling around on the ground or staggering aimlessly. With a single paw swipe, Kyuubi smashed multiple ninjas against a house's wall. The demon sensed a presence behind him and turned to see the enormous sand badger Shukaku charging in, his bloodlust seemingly overwhelming his common sense. With a growl, Kyuubi unleashed a massive jet of flame at the sand demon, opening his jaws wide. Shukaku's legs turned to glass, and he started to fall. Kyuubi disregarded the sense of impending death and the approaching exhaustion of his body. He focused his chakra and then unleashed his Go-To move, which he had used in the past, back when there was an even greater ninja army surrounding him. When the demon was several hundred feet away, the entire atmosphere ignited. The army was engulfed in the enormous conflagration. Before they could even scream, those inside were burned beyond recognition. Subsequently, a dejected howl echoed throughout Konoha, and the fire subsided, exposing a lone burning body suspended in midair. Uzumaki Naruto's burning body hit the ground, where it burned until it was reduced to ashes before being carried away by the wind. Inoishi was unable to accept it. In reality, he had defeated a demon and survived. It had worked out well that the demon's initial strike had caught Inoishi off guard. He had crashed through the roof of a house, landing on a couch after the shockwave had sent him hurtling away from the creature. Just enough time had passed for him to be stunned so that when he got back into the fight, he could only make it to the roof in time to witness the demon boy flame out of existence. Inoishi then recalled. Since his daughter had been imprisoned in the demon's mind, she ought to have returned to her own body now that the demon had vanished. Though very few who used the technique were aware of it, that was what happened with that specific technique since it was very uncommon to become trapped in someone's mind. Inoishi had only come across one instance of that happening in his reading. Hurrying to the hospital was Inoishi. Ino's entire body ached. What took place? I was inside Naruto's head when he kind of vanished, everything went up in flames, and the cage was filled with an intense light. I feel heavy and sore right now. When Ino opened her eyes, she took a look about her. Her room was in a hospital. Inoishi bolted through the door and into the chamber. He gave his daughter a firm hug upon seeing her awake. Don't worry, Ino. Everything will be alright. The demon is dead. He's gone. He can't hurt you ever again. Though not for the reason her father had assumed, Ino started to cry. As Kyuubi left the body, he experienced an odd floating sensation. He had always feared death more than anything else, but now that the day had come, he felt tranquil. Kit, goodbye. Kyuubi heard a halting response. Farewell, Kyuubi. After that, everything was in the dark, but the being managed to find a way at the last second. He used a tremendous amount of energy to hold the pieces in stasis, delaying the apparent inevitable in some way. A whirlwind of energy emerged from the shadows, gradually assembling the small fragments. The entity started rebuilding and mending the entire, using what little energy it was not sparing to maintain the entirety in stasis. Even the being, who had lived for generations, found the process to be challenging and slow. The darkness that came before annihilation, the being that sat in darkness, started to work. Naturally, Jiraiya went to the third's funeral, as did the majority of the remaining ninja. Between the sound invasion and Kyuubi's fleeting reappearance, Konoha had been all but destroyed, but things were quickly getting back to normal. Ninjas built things quickly. Jiraiya hoped that the village would almost return to its former state, and that the next Hokage would be installed there. Jiraiya wept silently on the inside for all the ninja who had perished as he observed the recovery efforts. He knew that every ninja would eventually die, but this level of destruction was unimaginable. And so Jiraiya wept, even for the person whose passing had been widely praised in the community. Jiraiya. Speaking of the next Hokage, Jiraiya left town as soon as the funeral concluded in search of the one person he was certain would be qualified and willing to take the helm of the Hidden Leaf. No way. Never, only fools would want to become Hokage. Jiraiya let out a sigh. After searching for Tsunade for several weeks, he had now been trying to persuade her to come back for days. Ineffectively, he could also say, Tsunade, if you don't come back, they'll make me be the Hokage. Surely you don't want that. It's not my village, I don't care, but we need someone. No, I won't do it, I will do it. The assembled audience erupted in cheers for the recently appointed Sannin. Turned Hokage as he declared, then, I present to the village of Konoha, the 5th Hokage. Tsunade muttered, you owe me, Jiraiya. Jiraiya returned the whisper with a smile. Don't worry, I'll find some way to smuggle you sake in the office. With great care, the being slowly put the entire working parts back together, making sure every component was in perfect working order. The being was incredibly powerful, but most of its energy was focused on protecting the entire from another, more powerful being, a being that never returned things. The whole gradually started to take on the look it had before its untimely dismantling. To prevent the greater being from claiming the whole and the lesser being as his own, there was still a lot of work to be done. The third, smaller being, which depended on the lesser for survival, was also guarded against by the lesser being. Although only the second could duplicate it, the third being understood how to run the entire system. The first, stronger being saw the two lesser beings without their knowledge and laughed. Tsunade oversaw the renovation of numerous homes and structures, she projecting a positive image among the populace, and Shizune was handling the paperwork. She eventually saw that there was a sizable area devoid of construction. She was informed that the area was contaminated when she inquired about it. Tsunade was intrigued and decided to look into it, but when she got there, she understood what they were talking about. Months later, she could still smell the slightest hint of demon chakra in the air, centered, it seemed, around where she'd been told the container had died. Because of the persistent corruption in the area, not even the corpses of Leaf Ninja had been removed. Satisfied with her curiosity, Tsunade jogged back to the location of the new construction. That would be the last area they would tend to. Tsunade reviewed the most recent report. From what she was reading, Akatsuki, the group of renegade ninja, had split up. Jiraiya's excellent spy network could only conclude that something had happened to stop them from doing what they had formed to do, since the report did not explain why. Tsunade was certain that the group's objectives were connected in some way to Itachi and Kisami's presence during the invasion. The two had approached the demon container, conversed for some time, and then engaged in combat, based on the accounts of ninja who just so happened to be nearby. Tsunade surmised that they had underestimated the demon since she had personally witnessed the two Akatsuki cloaks which appeared to be indestructibly lying in the tainted area. The other being expressed satisfaction. It had taken him so long, but finally his work was done. He positioned the third entity inside the entirety and then positioned it next to it. The second being activated the whole after giving its work one final check, and it started right where it had left off. Thumps with a thump. Thumps with a thump. Thumps with a thump. At last. Upon observing this, the third entity chuckled. It was better off letting the brat and demon go, but it could have easily taken them. Shinigami desired to have as many souls as possible, so why accept these two when they would surely bring him a great deal more? Slowly, Naruto's fiery red eyes opened. His pupils narrowed into slits as a result of his irises contracting from the intense light of the sun, a normal reaction to excessive light. After a brief while, the boy stood up to survey his surroundings and realized he was lying in a massive heap of debris, completely naked. Naruto took the smaller cloak that was lying around and wrapped it around himself, feeling a little uncomfortable. At least he was covered now, even though he lacked shoes. To avoid the chilly morning air, he pulled up his collars and started walking aimlessly. Naruto strolled by the shattered heaps of blackened stone, which were formerly structures. He could see bleached bones scattered erratically among the rubble, but he felt strangely unconcerned about this strange place. Naruto gradually recollected what had transpired. He belonged to the genin. Concerning the leaf, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. Chunin tests make a move. Remember me. I spent the entire time there. The abrupt voice in Naruto's head made him wince, and then he remembered the events of his demise? We were not quite killed. Still, it was an extremely close call. I was able to reconstruct our body. Since we battled the leaf nin that the blonde ninja brought, this is the easiest place for us to go back to because it contains the majority of our ashes. Naruto sensed his normalcy returning. What passed for normal is him, anyway. Now that we're still here, we ought to eat. Is food your only thought? In the woods, we can catch some deer or something else. We won't be welcomed in the village, in my opinion. Well, whatever, after all, we weren't exactly welcomed there. The boy in the cloak ran to the edge of the village and leapt over the wall, oblivious to, or maybe not even aware of, the people positioned on the wall. Hokage. Sama. Tsunade snapped to her feet. There's no need to fall asleep at work, come in. A trembling Chunin entered the office. Hokage. Sama, you said to notify you if we saw anyone in a black cloak with red clouds on it, right? Tsunade was alert and aware. Yes, so what did you see? I just saw one of them jump over the wall and out of the village. What did he look like? Where was he headed? Did you see anything else unusual? He was barefooted, and had whitish hair. Maybe it used to be blonde, but it looked like his hair had turned white. I couldn't see his face, because his collar was turned up. And he was running towards sand. The only unusual thing was that he came out of the tainted sector. After giving it some thought, Tsunade sent a group of Anbu agents to search the contaminated area for any indications of what the Akatsuki might have desired. After eating, Naruto sought out some water to rinse off the blood. He bolted toward the sound of flowing water, discovering a tiny, calm stream full of clean water. Leaning over the water, Naruto suddenly stopped. Almost all of his hair was white. It was mostly white, with a faint hint of yellow. And he had slitted pupils in his eyes, which had a fierce red color. As usual, he had whisker marks all over his cheeks. One of the consequences of my chakra reviving me. The red eyes are mine because I made them, and there was nothing I could do about the hair. It's alright. Considering what we did at the end of the fight, I don't think we have much of a chance to hide you anymore. After washing up, Naruto set out to explore the desert once more. Tsunade was overseeing the buildings in the contaminated area, which were the last remaining construction. The people would never have returned, so it was a good thing the demon chakra had left when it did. Though Tsunade was a little concerned that the taint had disappeared immediately following the Akatsuki's visit, she was at a loss for what to do at this point. When asked to follow the scent, every tracking dog whimpered, and the only one with the summons for talking nin dogs was Kakashi, who was on a mission. Tsunade decided that she would not worry about it until he returned. Hokage. Sama. Tsunade looked up at the orator. Yes. Kakashi. Oh, good, you're here. I just got back from the mission, and I heard you were looking for me. Yes, did you find out anything? After a lot of searching, I found the corpses all buried in a training field. They looked like they had been attacked by some sort of animal. They had long gashes everywhere. But I don't think that any normal animal could burn them like they had been burned. And Pakun said her could smell the stench of a demon. I wanted you here because we have a trail of an Akatsuki member that needs to be followed, and you have the summons for talking dogs. The trail starts right over there, Tsunade said, pointing to the base of a tree close to the walls. The more we find out, the longer he seems to have been influenced by the demon. But anyway, she said. The other dogs refused to follow it, so I was hoping that you would have better luck, or that we can at least find out why no one will follow it. With a nod, Kakashi called for Pakun. Pakun, a trail starts here. We need you to take us to the Akatsuki member who went this way. Pakun approached the tree, sniffed, barked loudly, and leapt back. I'd follow an Akatsuki member for you, but a demon is more than I really care to get involved with. Tsunade's eyes grew wide with comprehension. A demon, so there was a demon container here. Can you tell which it was, Pakun? I don't know the different smells, but this is exactly the same as the scent we found back with those dead villagers. Tsunade appeared perplexed, but several people saw him die. They said he scattered into ashes. Besides, that was months ago. There's no way he could have. All I'm saying is that it smells exactly the same, even though I didn't see it was him. Pakun then poofed into the smoke. Kakashi observed the Hokage's expression change to a frown. Kakashi, I want you to assemble a team and follow this thing as far as you can with your own tracking skills. Take whomever you would like. I'll take care of the paperwork. With a nod, Kakashi shot off. Not really knowing why he was going this way, Naruto crossed the forest's edge and entered the desert. Hey, Shukaku, that other demon, we never got to finish with him. We may visit him? Naruto pondered for a while, trying to think of a compelling argument against it. He was unsuccessful. Yes, of course, I suppose. That's the essence. Kakashi ran down the path. The person or thing producing it didn't give a damn about being covert. The trail was dotted with footprints, bent branches, and other obvious clues. Shikamaru, who was now a Chunin, followed closely behind him, his hands in his pockets. And Ino appeared behind Shikamaru. Though Kakashi wasn't sure about her, Shikamaru seemed certain that, given a clear shot, her mind-body switch could make for an easy capture. Kakashi started to feel nervous as they continued down the path into the desert. They were far from any assistance. Naruto was approaching Suna. Hey, we can test this body out here in the middle of nowhere. It should be the same, but since I'm not Kami, we should probably double-check that I did it correctly. I have so much faith in your skills now. Kid, please stop talking. Naruto practiced some fundamental taijutsu while continuing to move in Suna's general direction. Then he used ninjutsu and clones. Naruto chose to give up because he didn't know any genjutsu, which would have come next. Make sure my chakra is used to test the body. Okay, more chakra was drawn by Naruto from the Kyuubi. The sand at his feet turned to glass, and the air shimmered around him, but his body was not yet being hurt by the chakra. Kyuubi slashed the sand with a chakra, wielding hand before launching ballistic demon energy into neighboring sand dunes. They used more and more chakra, but they continued to experience the lack of pain that typically accompanies high demon chakra usage. Since I made the body, perhaps we can take more now? They felt it when they drew the chakra into the almost impenetrable armor they had previously worn. Even though it was less than before, the internal torsion and strain was still more than enough to kill them if they continued for an extended period of time. Our reluctance to use it appears to be slightly greater than our resistance to maintaining contact with it. You seem much too intelligent. You are not Naruto in any way. Kami, everyone thinks I'm as stupid as dirt just because I did something dumb years ago. However, you used the term, contact. What's your point, then? Never mind. I want to kill Shukaku. Let's go. Plus a few sand ninjas. And possibly a few peasants. Additionally. Naruto ignored him and resumed his stroll. Kakashi peered at the surrounding dunes. Or, more precisely, to the big hills of glass surrounding him. Shikamaru moaned. Looks like they were playing with fire. Or if it really is a demon, maybe they were playing with that evil chakra. Kakashi scowled behind his mask. There was no blood or bodies, so it didn't appear like there had been a fight. However, if the heat had been this intense. If we're going to catch up to it anytime soon, we better keep moving, Shikamaru uttered. With a nod, Kakashi continued to follow the foolish trail that the object they were pursuing had left behind. Ino and Shikamaru trailed closely behind. Kyuubi and Naruto arrived at Tsuna's gates. From his seat, a Chunin guard stood up and moved towards them. Hey, normal stuff. Who are you? What's our business, and all that? Is killing these people truly that important? I want to, and in any case, we have to get rid of the people who know about me if we want to eventually live a normal life. Gaara is meant by this. So, will we simply murder him? Since we're here, let's see. Furthermore, do you recall that Suna Ninja attended the Chunin exams as well? Okay, so, I can handle it if you would prefer to sit it out. If I let you take care of everything, I'll never get better. We might as well get started if this really needs to be done. The Chunin gazed at the man in the strange cloak who was barefoot, and the peculiar eyes. He tried to get the guy's attention by clearing his throat. With the claws that had grown on his hands, Naruto suddenly tore out the Chunin's throat before charging into the village. The gruesome hole in the Chunin's throat caused him to topple over, dripping blood onto the beach. When Kakashi noticed the Suna village in the distance, he came to a stop. Something was present, away. Beside him, Shikamaru and Ino approached. Ino inquired, "What's going on, Kakashi?" Something isn't right, but we need to keep going. As they jogged closer to the village, Kakashi became aware of the problem. Screams of pain and death were barely reaching them on the wind's wings. Somewhere in the village, Kakashi saw a tall red flame leap into the air. Then he experienced it. The Kyuubi was definitely present. Shikamaru, Ino. This mission just got a lot harder.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.